Chapter 306. Based on what you're saying, if we could have stopped that pigeon, then raining the four seas mission would have been a piece of cake? Brother, you said, of course not. The only difference is an unprepared opponent and an prepared opponent. The latter is obviously more difficult. Han family young master said. Everyone nodded in agreement. The discussion about this issue ended here. After all, the mission was raining the four seas. As a group of uneducated mercenaries, they didn't care what kind of difficulties they would encounter in the raining the four seas mission. What do we do next? Bring Adrian's corpse to the werewolves? Gu Fei looked down. Adrian, who was lying on the ground, looked like he was asleep. He didn't look like a dead person. I don't think so. We just need to find the werewolves and tell them. They have the system behind them, so they know everything. But the problem is that we can't go now. Han family young master said. We're not in the middle of a mission right now. Let's dismiss the werewolves. When the guys from raining the four seas come tomorrow, we'll be able to take advantage of it. When that time comes, will they believe that we solved it? Then we'll talk about it tomorrow. Gu Fei said. Okay, hurry up and log off. Han family young master said. Thus, Gu Fei went to greet June Rain and told her that Adrian wasn't there anymore. She could dig without worry. June Rain happily continued to work. Gu Fei returned to Moonlit Night City and logged off. 4 hours later, raining the four seas players were released. Naturally, the first thing they did was check on the situation of the mission. After knowing that Child Elite Group had a hand in it, raining the four seas immediately contacted Han family young master. Oh, Qianli did it himself when he was drunk. Not long after, he logged off. I don't know the situation. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Han family young master said. What about the note? Raining the four seas asked. Do you want it now? Of course. The Han family young master did not tell him that the problem had been solved. Of course, Reflection Years would not give up just like that. He still wanted to rely on them to solve this problem. In terms of handling the situation, he and the elite group were completely in line. They would first firmly believe that Adrian was the mastermind behind the scenes, and then find evidence to expose him. After getting the note back, Time of Reflection immediately began to contact Adrian again. He repeatedly asked, repeatedly searched, and repeatedly monitored, but still found nothing. The Reflection of Time tried all the methods he could think of, but Adrian's reaction to this matter was one of confusion. This time, he was really at a loss, because this Adrian was already the third Adrian that the system had spawned. The Adrian who had threatened the werewolves to go against raining the four seas was, in fact, no longer in this world. The one in front of him, if he followed the path of the past, might have played the role of the antagonist in one of the quests. However, at this moment, he had nothing to do with the escort quest of raining the four seas, so of course he would be at a loss when talking to him about this quest. Unfortunately, the Reflection of Time did not know this. He tossed and turned for an entire night. When the sun rose in the east, the Reflection of Time was already extremely sleepy, but Adrian was still in high spirits in front of him. The Reflection of Time had to admit that he had lost. Perhaps it was as he had thought. This quest had been accepted by Qianli in a drunken stupor, so only he could complete it. That was what the Reflection of Time thought. Of course, he did not know that the reason he had been tossing and turning all night without any progress was actually because he was unable to accept a quest that had already been completed. Placing all of his hopes on Gu Fei was naturally what the Han family young master wanted. What happened next was very simple. The Han family young master did not even have to take the initiative to negotiate with them. As long as the problem was solved, they would naturally hand over the payment that was due. After all, Unsworn Sword and the others were quite tactful. The next day, the 700 or so players of Raining the Four Seas waited anxiously for the entire day. Finally, when it was close to 7 o'clock at night, the long-awaited Sir Gu Fei came online. Without any unnecessary words, Gu Fei took the lead and found the werewolves before the rest of the troops set off. As expected, when Gu Fei told them that Adrian had been dealt with, the werewolves were immediately convinced. They packed up their things and were about to return to the village happily. Gu Fei was still anxiously waiting for a reward, but the tall werewolf named Weech did not even bother to transform into his human form. He stretched out his claws and tapped Gu Fei's shoulder, howling twice. Unfortunately, Gu Fei did not understand the language of werewolves. So, after he returned to his human form, he solemnly howled at Gu Fei again, "We will always remember your kindness. Have a safe journey." Gu Fei waved at the werewolves. "Please keep this." Weech began to dig into his pocket. Even Gu Fei, who was not very passionate about in-game equipment, could not help but have his eyes light up. He had learned from the mistake of the Dark Knight streamer. Even if he did not care about equipment, he had to admit that he was so famous in the game because of the Dark Knight streamer. A werewolf's product must be of high quality. As Gu Fei muttered to himself, the werewolf which had already handed over the item. It was a belt. To be precise, it was a very wretched-looking belt. The buckle was in the shape of a wolf's head. The fierce look in its eyes was one thing, but the half of the wolf's mouth seemed to be purposely made to drool. The werewolf's ferocious image was completely destroyed by the saliva, and the fierce look in its eyes seemed to be a little off. A word popped up in Gu Fei's mind, "Pervert. Is this belt for jokes?" Gu Fei muttered as he took it. Wolf's brand. Apart from the defense and pocket expansion functions that ordinary belts had, this wolf's brand naturally had special attributes. Werewolf's self-healing. Possesses the strong vitality of a werewolf, and recovers 1% of maximum HP every second. Gu Fei was speechless. It was related to HP again, and what he urgently needed was mana. Although Gu Fei did not like it, this equipment was undeniably a top-tier item. The purple font was enough to explain it. Compared to the Knight's Life Blessing, the werewolf's self-healing was very precious. The Knight's Life Blessing also allowed the player's HP to recover after being cast. However, it would automatically recover HP every 5 seconds, and the amount of HP recovered was also fixed, not a percentage. On the market, equipment that increased one's HP and MP were common, but equipment with self-recovery functions were rare. In the parallel world, there were no medicines that could recover during battle, so one could imagine how precious this kind of equipment was. If this belt fell into the hands of a heavy warrior, it would be enough to make him excited for 3 days and 3 nights. However, at this moment, it was in Gu Fei's hands. He lowered his head and looked at the plain leather belt on his waist, hesitating whether or not to change into it. Even its basic attributes were much stronger than his cowhide belt. But the problem was, this design was really... Gu Fei turned it over and looked at the wolf's head buckle again. Wretched. Very wretched. And show it outside. Gu Fei thought as he fastened the wolf's brand inside his clothes. This didn't affect the attributes of the equipment, but a mage's robe needed to be bound by a belt to show its beauty. At this time, with the belt inside, the robe hung straight down, and the person would look like a can. Gu Fei didn't know this at this time. After saying goodbye to the werewolf, he stood on the side of the road like a can, waiting for the main force of Cloud City to arrive. He had already sent a message to them, informing them that the crisis had been completely resolved. Not long after, the main force arrived, and walking at the front were naturally the 3 core members, Unsworn Sword, Reflection of Years, and Wind Star. Although they were unwilling, they still expressed their gratitude to Gu Fei for solving the problem. After that, the 3 carefully pondered the mystery of Gu Fei's appearance and continued to lead the team forward. Mercenary groups were usually at the back of the team, and Child Elite Group was often at the back. For a moment, Gu Fei received everyone's attention. In the general understanding of the players, a mage dressed like this could only be described with one word: disheveled. This situation continued until Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's Big Hunt mercenary group arrived. Being familiar with Gu Fei, they couldn't help but be surprised by Gu Fei's appearance. In the end, Fireball came over and whispered to Gu Fei, "Brother Zhu, fasten your belt after you're done." Say what? Gu Fei didn't understand. Fireball's gaze was even more wretched than the werewolf's buckle. He, having sex in the wild as expected of Brother Zhu. Did you lose your belt after you're done? I still have one here, you can fasten it first. What are you talking about? Gu Fei knocked on Fireball's head, finally understanding what this guy was thinking. The belt is fastened, it's inside. Gu Fei lifted the hem of his mage robe to show Fireball the wolf's brand inside. But why is it inside? Fireball didn't understand. It's too ugly, Gu Fei said. No way. It's cool, I think it's very nice, I like it very much. Fireball couldn't help but touch the wolf's head on the buckle. Gu Fei was speechless. In terms of temperament, the wolf's head buckle and Fireball were indeed very compatible. But Brother Zue, Fireball continued, you can't do this. If the belt is fastened inside, the mage robe will look very ugly on you. Well, it doesn't matter. Can it be more wretched than the belt? Gu Fei said, it's like wearing a nightgown that's too long and wandering in a crowd. Isn't that wretched? Fireball said. Gu Fei shuddered. If the belt is fastened inside, the mage robe has to be worn like this, Fireball said as he untied the belt around his waist. As Fireball spoke, he untied his belt and undid all the buttons on his robe. Then, he lifted one side of the robe with one hand and put the other hand on his waist. He lowered his head and bent his body slightly to strike a pose. Having a variety of styles is a great tool for a mage to pick up girls. Chapter 307. See. Fireball posed as he spoke to Gu Fei. But the robe has to be of this style. It's rare to see this kind of trench coat style robe. Fireball proudly showed off his so-called trench coat style robe. When he lifted up Gu Fei's robe, he was surprised. Oh, so it's yours too, Brother Zue. Then it's easy. Fireball unbuttoned Gu Fei's robe and took a few steps back to examine it. In the end, he shook his head regretfully. Brother Zue, your robe is very cool, but the clothes inside are too shabby. I know a player who's a tailor. He's quite skilled and can already make clothes with this kind of lining. More importantly, he's a tailor himself, and his skills are very good. Look at this. Fireball moved closer to Gu Fei and showed the clothes inside his robe to Gu Fei. See? A casual shirt. You can't make clothes in real life. Even if you learn tailoring in the game, you won't be able to make something like this. Too bad he's in Cloud City now. But don't worry, I'll bring you to him when we get back. I'm the one who introduced you, so he'll give you a 30% discount. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Fireball returned to the team after he finished speaking, leaving Gu Fei standing by the side of the road in a daze until the 5 members of Child Elite Group arrived. How was it? Did the werewolves give you any rewards? They asked. Gu Fei removed the mark of the wolf from his waist and showed it to the 5 of them. He then put on his mage robe again and fastened his original leather belt. Ah! The guys who passed the wolf brand left a series of exclamations. Han Family Young Master was the last to get it. He glanced at it and threw it back to Gu Fei. Is this quest for reigning the world or yours? You've only been on the road for a while and you've already gotten so many things. Gu Fei shrugged and put the belt back into his pocket. You don't need it? Unscathed in Battle's eyes lit up. With Gu Fei's bold and playful attitude, it was extremely easy for him to get what he didn't need. In the end, Unscathed in Battle's intentions were quickly noticed by the others, and they all looked at him with disdain. Your expression is too despicable. Gu Fei also said, the belt is not bad, but the design is not good. No way, it's very cool. Yutian Shenming and Unscathed in Battle said in unison. These two could be considered as playing dirty. However, as soon as he said Unscathed in Battle, he secretly slapped himself in the face. How despicable! It was rare for Gu Fei to have a reason not to like it. Why should she help him like it? The design is not a problem. Brother, you said to Gu Fei, players with high tailoring skills can modify the design of equipment. Of course, players who don't really know how to do this will definitely make it uglier. So, you still need to find someone who knows how to design and make clothes. I know a player who is learning tailoring in Cloud City. His skills are quite good, and he's a tailor himself. Look at my clothes, he specially decorated them. When we return to Cloud City, I'll bring you to him. I'll introduce him to you, so he'll at least give you a 30% discount. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. Gu Fei looked at Brother Yu and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Brother Yu, do you know what a fireball is? As he spoke, Gu Fei swung his sword and extinguished the fireball. This was the bad thing about mages. When they spoke, they only needed to add the name of a spell between the lines, and they would immediately summon the spell. Every time two mages exchanged their insights on their skills, the scene would be in full swing. Fireballs would circle around their bodies, fire wheels would circle above their heads, and heat waves would appear under their feet. Fireballs, chain fireballs, and the like would appear and disappear in front of them. It was extremely beautiful. Brother Yu didn't know that Fireball was a player, so he didn't quite understand Gu Fei's words. Seeing that Gu Fei had already walked away, he looked at the other four with lingering fear. He's not threatening me, is he? Unscathed in battle patted him painfully. Take care. Brother Yu's legs turned to jelly. The group continued to move forward. After that, it was a smooth road with a wide field of vision. It didn't look like they would be ambushed. However, this kind of pure travel was undoubtedly the most boring. After walking like this for 3 hours, another main city finally appeared in the player's sight. Unsworn Sword took out the map that the system had specially given them for this quest. After confirming the coordinates, he nodded. This is it, Whitestone City. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Other than the werewolf when they left Moonlit Night City, they actually didn't encounter any danger. Moreover, the werewolf only existed in the players' conversations. There weren't many who actually saw the werewolf. After that, the quest was handled by the child elite group. For these players, the journey from Moonlit Night City to Whitestone City was equivalent to nothing. The players looked around and could already see the various figures of Whitestone City players in their line of sight. However, in comparison, their army of nearly 1,000 people was more eye-catching. Many players put down what they were doing and looked at the players from Cloud City. Be careful, keep a low profile. Some players who had suffered in Moonlit Night City warned themselves and their companions. Fighting was the main theme of online games, so it was easy to develop a wild style like Moonlit Night City. These people were worried that the players from Whitestone City would have the same strength of character. On the other hand, Unsworn Swords reigning the Four Seas group was more relaxed. They really came prepared. In advance, they went to the Baishur section of the forum to understand the situation of the city. This was a normal and quiet main city. It didn't have the unique atmosphere of Moonlit Night City. After the main force entered the city, everyone let their guard down. The players from the mercenary group went to the resurrection point to register. The players from Reigning the Four Seas followed Unsworn Sword to temporarily store the people they escorted in the dungeon. Most of them also went offline. Although they didn't have any conflicts with other players in Moonlit Night City, during the process of doing quests and leveling up, 3 players unfortunately died because they weren't familiar with the local difficulty of quests and the distribution of monsters. Not only did they return to Cloud City, but the quest also disappeared from the list. It was obvious that they had failed. For the players from Reigning the Four Seas, there was only one life for this guild quest. So after arriving at Whitestone City, many of them didn't dare to be careless and felt that it was safer to go offline. The 6 players from Child Elite Group were quite sneaky. As they approached Whitestone City, they were already looking for a certain person, Silvermoon. According to Cloud Twilight's plan in Moonlit Night City, once Silvermoon arrived at Whitestone City and applied for a temporary residence permit, they would make their move and repeatedly kill him. Cloud Twilight didn't ask for their help, but the 6 of them didn't mind watching this annoying person. Naturally, there were also their comrades from the Silvermoon mercenary group. Gu Fei and the others followed from afar, looking for the whereabouts of Cloud Twilight's group. Because the players from Cloud City were delayed in Moonlit Night City, Cloud Twilight had already led a group of killers to Whitestone City. From time to time, there would be quests coming and going from neighboring main cities. For example, June Rain accepted a quest from Cloud City and went to Moonlit Night City. Although most people couldn't be bothered to do these types of quests, the players from Moonlit Night City knew the way to Whitestone City. Gu Fei and the others watched as Silvermoon's group passed through the intersection of the streets. Like Gu Fei's group, they continuously passed through the streets and secretly followed them. It seemed that Cloud Twilight's group had already made their preparations. At this time, Silvermoon's resurrection point had probably already set up an ambush at the knight's camp. At this time, They were only watching them without making a move. Naturally, they were waiting for Silver Moon to get registered. This was the first time Silver Moon's group had come to White Stone City. After asking around, they finally found the nearest resurrection point, the Thieves' Guild. After a simple conversation with the NPC in charge of the resurrection point, the registration could be transferred. Of course, the fee was not unavoidable. The service NPCs in the parallel world were a bunch of money-grubbing machines. Silver Moon and the others weren't in a hurry to go offline. They turned around and were about to leave the resurrection point. When they turned around, they naturally saw Gu Fei's group of 6 following them into the Thieves' Guild. This wasn't strange. The mercenary group players from Cloud City who entered the city and asked about the resurrection point basically all came to this Thieves' Guild. There were hundreds of people, some fast, some slow, but they entered in an endless stream. Both sides' eyes met briefly. Silver Moon still squeezed a smile at them. Even though he knew that both sides had already shed all pretense of cordiality, he was still as hypocritical as ever. On the Child Elite Group side, after seeing his smile, Han Family Young Master also greeted him with a smile. Gu Fei and Sword Demon were expressionless. Brother Yu's face was filled with worry. Unscathed in battle, and Yutian Shenming immediately snickered when they brushed past each other. They quickly ran to the NPC to register, then hurriedly chased after the commotion. They're going out. The two of them were extremely excited. Yun Zhongmu had definitely set up a huge formation at the exit. Once this group of people went out, it would definitely be a super fatal blow. They just didn't know how many people Yun Zhongmu's group brought. Could it be all 4,000 people? 4,000 people attacking at the same time? How big of a scene would that be? Who knew how long it would take for the players of Cloud City to have the chance to witness such a scene? Under the eager anticipation of the two, Silver Moon's group finally took the last step to leave the resurrection point. Yutian Shenming excitedly clenched his fist. They are here. In the end, the entrance of the Thieves' Guild was still the same big entrance. It didn't change into a battlefield at all. Players continued to enter and exit, and nothing happened. How can this be? Old Yun and the others didn't come? The two of them were confused. At this time, Gu Fei and the other 3 had also completed the registration work and were quite puzzled about this. Chapter 308. Silver Moon and the others strolled around the city leisurely, pointing and talking as if they were tourists on a trip. Gu Fei was about to go offline, but he wanted to see the scene of Silver Moon getting killed, which was why he decided to temporarily go offline. In the end, the guy who was sneakily hiding behind Silver Moon was still there, but he didn't see them make a move. The people from Child Elite Group couldn't take it anymore. Just as they were about to send a message to Cloud Twilight's head popped out from a certain street. After seeing Silver Moon's movements, he turned around and saw the 6 people. He immediately waved at them. As a result, they didn't have to send a message and surrounded him. Why aren't you making a move? The 6 people were even more anxious than Cloud Twilight. Troublesome. Cloud Twilight said. What? Look, Cloud Twilight pointed at the street that led to the Thieves' Guild. It's all Cloud City players. Indeed, the mercenaries who had just entered White Stone City would first sneak onto this street and then go to the Thieves' Guild to register. This street was currently filled with the figures of Cloud City players. It's not a good time to make a move now. Cloud Twilight said. How many of you came? Yutian Shenming asked. Cloud Twilight glanced behind him. Not many, around 300. Yutian Shenming was very disappointed. Why are there so few? Doesn't your 10-guild alliance have around 4,000 people? It's just to take care of Silver Moon. Do you need so many people? Cloud Twilight said. In reality, Cloud Twilight was very willing to gather 4,000 people to surround Silver Moon and scare him to death. But in reality, after so much time had passed, there weren't that many people who hated Silver Moon anymore. Moreover, most of them didn't have any grudges with Silver Moon. Many of them weren't happy that Qianli came all the way here, so Cloud Twilight didn't force them. They all came willingly. Look, if all 4,000 of you came, you wouldn't need to care about the Cloud City players on this street. Yu Shinming said. Little brother, you're ruthless? Come to our moonlit night city and develop yourself. Yun Zhongmu exclaimed. You're the vicious one. Gu Fei spoke. He meant that with 4,000 people, these people wouldn't dare to help. Do you think we can get rid of them as well? Cloud Twilight had clearly misunderstood. The leader of Moonlit Night City had such a radical way of thinking. Actually, although we all came from Cloud City together, if a fight really broke out at this time, these people might not help. Brother, you said. Yeah, we were only invited together for this quest. We didn't even know each other before. People of the same trade are enemies. Who would want to help him? Unscathed in Battle added. We can first fake an attack and see how these people react. If it doesn't work, then we'll think about it. Brother, you said. The group of people surrounded Yun Zhongmu and tried to give him ideas. In reality, they just wanted to see Silver Moon's fate as soon as possible. They didn't want to waste the rest of the night following Yun Zhongmu and patiently looking for an opportunity to attack Silver Moon. Oh, if that's the case. Yun Zhongmu was finally convinced. Just as he was about to launch a probing attack, a group of people suddenly appeared at the intersection behind them. Silver Moon went up and greeted the leader of the group, and the two sides converged. Just like that, Silver Moon's group instantly swelled to a few hundred people. They were on par with Yun Zhongmu's total strength. Unsworn sword? The 6 members of the elite group looked at each other. When did they hook up? They look really familiar. Brother, you said. There's no news in the channel. The spy, Yu Shinming, reported. What's so strange about that? Han Family Young Master said. Silver Moon's skills can be a decisive factor in large-scale group battles. How could Unsworn Sword not try to rope in someone like that? With Silver Moon's style, he can even feign civility with his opponents. How could he not take advantage of this kind of relationship? Just wait and see. Who knows, maybe when he returns to Cloud City, he'll be the 4th core member of Reigning the Seas. Can he still return to Cloud City? They all looked at Yun Zhongmu. Yun Zhongmu hesitated. We have to find an opportunity. The situation right now is a bit troublesome. He's together with the leader of this mission. If they fight, all of you in Cloud City will take action, right? The 6 of them didn't say anything. Of course, if Yun Zhongmu were to take action now, Unsworn Sword's Reigning the Seas wouldn't sit idly by. Reigning the Seas would obviously get all of the mercenaries he hired to help. Yun Zhongmu only had a trifling 300 people. In this unfamiliar place, they had to fight against Cloud City's 1,000 people. Was there any suspense? Don't think that the hot-blooded players of Moonlit Night City were brainless. With his rich battle experience, Yun Zhongmu's estimation of the strength of both sides was even more accurate than the experts of Child Elite Group. Even someone as hot-blooded as him was hesitant to make a move. It could be seen how low the chances of victory were. Thus, in the eyes of these people, Silver Moon and her companions gradually went far away, far away, far away. We're letting him go just like that? The elite group members weren't happy. He sent a brother he doesn't know to follow him. Yun Zhongmu said, I won't follow him. I'm afraid Silver Moon will accidentally turn around and find me. If that's the case, then we'll get back to work. Let's keep in touch if there's any news. The 6 said. But you guys go. If there's something interesting, I'll definitely call you. Yun Zhongmu smiled. The two sides tacitly didn't mention anything about helping each other. If they really wanted to help, it would be more difficult. After all, the people of Child Elite Group and the players of Cloud City came out together. If there were any past conflicts, they really shouldn't be resolved at this time. In the course of this mission, everyone was a true comrade. If someone wanted to attack a comrade, it was already a bit unreasonable for them to not help or report the news. Instead, they just stood by and watched the show. Helping out was too outrageous. Yun Zhongmu clearly understood their difficulties, so he didn't mention anything about helping out. He only said that they were just here to watch the show. Of course, they understood what he meant and nodded with expressions of long live the understanding. Yun Zhongmu went to arrange his matters. The 6 of them also split into 2 groups. 5 of them faced Gu Fei. It's time to go offline. Heh, if there's a show at night, you won't be able to see it. Gu Fei didn't play the game for long, but he was so skilled. His equipment was way better than theirs, and his level wasn't that far behind theirs. Such an anomaly in the online gaming world made the online gaming experts very unhappy. They were all looking forward to the day when they could pin down Gu Fei. That was the quality that an online gaming expert should have. However, Gu Fei just waved his hand at them. It's fine if I can't see it. I'll go kill him myself when I have time. With that, he went back to the Thieves' Guild and logged off. That night, Silver Moon mingled with the players from Reigning the Seas and found a place to level up outside of the city. The brothers that Yun Zhongmu sent to keep an eye on them all fell asleep on the grass on the hillside. When they woke up, it was already morning in the real world. When they looked up, the scene in front of them was exactly the same as when they had fallen asleep. They were still leveling up, but it was clear that it was time to retreat. Everyone looked tired after an all-nighter, and after clearing out the last wave of mobs, they began to make preparations to return to the city. Here's our chance. Here's our chance. The soldier who had slept through the night shouted excitedly. What is it? Yun Zhongmu reacted quickly. This was the chance they had been waiting for the entire night. It looks like they're going to log off, the soldier reported. This was indeed an opportunity. After a night of grinding monsters and leveling, the players would organize their night's loot before going offline. For example, they would sell their equipment, deposit some money in the bank, tidy up their inventory, repair their equipment, or even go to a tavern for a drink or two to relax. There were all sorts of arrangements. It was easy to predict that it would be difficult for the players to move as a group. This was indeed a rare opportunity. Continue to keep an eye on them and report their location. Yun Zhongmu called for his brothers to gather, and at the same time, his spirits lifted. After an all-nighter, he was naturally very tired. The target is returning to the city. They're probably entering from the west gate, the soldier reported. What's the nearest safe zone to the west gate? Yun Zhongmu hurriedly asked. A brother who had studied the terrain of the city reported, the archer shooting range. Set up an ambush in front of the shooting range and prepare for battle. Gather at the knight's camp as well. Keep an eye on the main street leading from the west gate to the shooting range. The nearest taverns, warehouses, blacksmiths, tailors, grocery stores, fruit stores, bakeries, appraisers, and healers, all of them have someone stay there. Also, send someone to the bank, auction house, and trading house. Cloud Twilight instructed with incomparable familiarity. Boss, there's no need for that, right? I'll be right behind them. The soldier said. It's easy for you to keep an eye on them, but once they enter the city and disperse, will you be able to find Silver Moon? We're all very tired after an all-night. If you're even a bit careless, you might lose her. Yun Zhongmu said. Oh, boss is right. The soldier obviously didn't have the nerve to say that he had slept on a hillside in the wilderness and was in a good state of mind. Time passed bit by bit. Yun Zhongmu and his subordinates yawned as they set up an ambush. Careful, careful, they're about to enter the city. The soldier reported. I'm watching the west gate. We'll definitely catch Silver Moon. Although they had made arrangements everywhere, it was still best to keep an eye on the enemy. Yun Zhongmu's battle experience was too rich. Chapter 309. Just as Cloud Twilight and the others expected, the players that entered the city didn't gather together. Hundreds of them scattered like birds and beasts. Most of them headed for the nearest revival point. Cloud Twilight was quite nervous. If Silver Moon was among them, then they still wouldn't dare to make a move. But good news came quickly. An energetic soldier reported, Silver Moon. Which direction? Cloud Twilight hurriedly asked. Looks like he's going to the warehouse to pack up, the soldier replied. Keep an eye on him. Wait for them to disperse. Is the archer shooting range ready? Cloud Twilight asked. Yes, it's ready. Silver Moon is going to the warehouse. But there are a lot of players here, and many of them are from Whitestone City. It's not convenient to make a move here, the soldier reported. Just keep an eye on him. Everyone else, gather at the Westgate warehouse and the archer range, Cloud Twilight ordered. Understood. How many companions are with Silvermoon? Cloud Twilight asked. About 40 to 50 people went to the warehouse, the soldier reported. Quite a lot. Cloud Twilight muttered. If they continue to go together, I'm afraid we'll have to wait for most of Unhindered to log off. Cloud Twilight wasn't trying to give Unhindered any face. It was just that there were a lot of enemies, and the battle wouldn't be short. Even though there were only 40 to 50 of them, they couldn't ignore Silvermoon's frightening battle formation skill. If they didn't wait for Unhindered to log off, they might not be able to take down Silvermoon quickly. If that happened, then all their efforts would be in vain. Moreover, if they missed this attack, they would have already alerted the enemy. With Silvermoon's cunning, it wouldn't be easy for them to find another opportunity. Hit it in one strike, no mistakes allowed. Cloud Twilight waved his fist. Those at the Archer range, send Cloud City's people over there. Once they log off, report back to me. Where's Unhindered's leader? Cloud Twilight asked the soldier. I didn't notice, the soldier said. Apart from those keeping an eye on him, everyone else is to gather at the Archer range. We'll gather all our forces here and launch an all-out attack, Cloud Twilight said. Silvermoon left the warehouse, the soldier roared. With someone else? Have the people from Cloud City gone offline yet? Twilight in Cloud asked urgently. Some more people have dispersed. Silvermoon and a dozen others are heading in the same direction. I'm following them. You didn't go to the shooting range? No. Coordinates. Everyone, get close to the coordinates and move alone, Cloud Twilight hurriedly said. This slut, can you tell where she's going? Cloud Twilight asked. I'm not too sure. The soldier couldn't answer. After all, this was not Moonlit Night City, and he was still unfamiliar with the structure of the city. He could not tell where he was just by looking at the other party's direction. Don't panic, Yun Zhongmu said to his subordinates while reminding himself to calm down. This should be Silvermoon's first time in this main city. Yun Zhongmu analyzed. In order to deal with him, we purposely understood the structure of the city. However, he's only here for a day, so he definitely won't know the way. If he wants to go somewhere, he'll probably have to ask the local players. So, if you see him talking to someone, go and ask after he leaves. We'll definitely be able to get the answer. Boss, you're so smart. This guy really is talking to the players on the streets, the soldier said happily. Good job, old Yun. Zhu Xian, who was beside Yun Zhongmu, slapped him heavily. You're pretty smart. Damn you, you're a pig, I'm not. Yun Zhongmu looked at Zhu Xian in disdain as he moved towards Silvermoon's coordinates with his subordinates. At the same time, he quietly waited for news. Boss got it. The soldier said happily, Silvermoon and the others are going to the auction house. Everyone, gather at the auction house, quickly. Yun Zhongmu ordered. At the same time, he proudly boasted to Zhu Xian, I knew this bastard wouldn't know. Isn't the auction house next to the central plaza in all the main cities? Do you even need to ask? Could it be a trap? Zhu Xian said. Do you think you're a god? If I threw you into some corner of the city and told you to go straight to the center, would you be able to find it? Damn you, you're just scared of Silvermoon, and you're still talking about a trap. Yun Zhongmu cursed. Zhu Xian didn't dare make a sound. He was quite afraid of Silvermoon. He was quite famous among his group of brothers. In the past, he couldn't win against Silvermoon no matter how much he played. No matter what he did, he would always be bullied. Under Yun Zhongmu's urging, hurry, hurry. Apart from the ambushers in the knight's camp, everyone else had already gathered at the central plaza of Whitestone City, where the auction house was located. Silvermoon and the others were walking leisurely, but Yun Zhongmu and the others were secretly marching. Some of the faster professions had already arrived before Silvermoon. Even the warriors and priests weren't much slower than Silvermoon and the others. Old Yun, it's a bit hasty to make a move right now. If we don't prepare well, this guy might slip away. Let's let him walk around first, and we'll hurry up and make preparations outside. What do you think? Someone suggested. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's about time for those people to log off, right? Yun Zhongmu asked. They're logged off. Those who came to the shooting range have already logged off, a player reported. Did you see their leader? He's a warrior. Since none of his brothers knew who Oathless Sword was, Yun Zhongmu was thinking about how to describe him. However, one of his brothers already replied, yeah, he's already logged off. You know him? Yun Zhongmu was curious. There's a warrior like that. He brought everyone to the shooting range and even gave a speech. It's obvious that he's the leader. One of his brothers reported. Oh. Yun Zhongmu muttered to himself for a while. He was also the leader, but he didn't have the bad habit of bringing everyone offline and giving a speech. At this time, Yun Zhongmu and the others had also arrived near the auction house. They had also arrived quite early. Seeing that his brothers who had arrived earlier were all acting as if nothing had happened and strolling around the plaza, Yun Zhongmu was very satisfied. He felt that everyone had concealed themselves well. Of course, people like Yun Zhongmu and Zhu Xian, who were Silver Moon's old rivals and acquaintances, couldn't just stroll around like this. These people were currently hiding in the streets. When Yun Zhongmu saw this, he realized that he didn't need to make any more arrangements. Every street was filled with people. Once Silver Moon came out of the auction house, he would be surrounded. Apart from flying into the sky or burrowing into the ground, he had nowhere else to go. When will Silver Moon arrive? I think he can do it now. Yun Zhongmu was still typing when he suddenly saw a flash of light in front of him. Silver Moon's resplendent knight armor had already appeared in front of him. Silver Moon was walking towards the auction house with a few of his mercenary group companions. I'll make you cry later if I call you that. Yun Zhongmu cursed inwardly as he notified his subordinates. Silver Moon is already here. Those who haven't come yet, hurry up. It was such a simple order, but it was very troublesome for Yun Zhongmu to give it out. This was because they were the 10 Guilds Alliance, and their members came from 10 guilds. Even if they were from one guild, the system didn't provide an alliance channel. Therefore, Yun Zhongmu was accompanied by members from 9 other guilds. Whatever Yun Zhongmu said would be broadcasted live on the other 9 channels, and any feedback would be sent to Yun Zhongmu. This was indeed very troublesome. However, the 10 Guilds Alliance had been established for quite some time, and everyone was basically used to it. At this time, it wasn't just the 300 people in Whitestone City who were in a tense atmosphere. All of the 10 Guilds Alliance players who were online in Moonlit City knew that these people who went out to hunt down Silver Moon were about to bear fruit. Everyone consciously kept the guild channel clean and quietly waited for the broadcast. Silver Moon's group of 12 people passed through the central plaza and entered the auction house. The 10 Guilds Alliance's people communicated with each other through their eyes, not revealing any flaws. At this time, there were still some who hadn't arrived. Yun Zhongmu urged them to hurry up and arranged for people to surround Silver Moon when he came out of the central plaza. He then summoned a few thieves to hide outside the auction house, and when he came out, they would temporarily block the entrance. The auction house was also a safe zone, and PvP was not allowed there. They couldn't let Silver Moon escape again. If Gu Fei was in the central plaza, he would definitely be able to feel the thick murderous intent coming from all directions. The only regret in Yun Zhongmu's heart was that his brothers from Cloud City's child elite group weren't there, and couldn't enjoy the grand occasion of surrounding and killing Silver Moon. Everyone, pay attention. Silver Moon is coming out. A brother in charge of the auction house sent a message. As expected, as soon as the message was sent, the auction house's doors opened, and Silver Moon's group walked out happily. Their faces clearly showed that this trip wasn't in vain. I'll let you know what a truly worthwhile trip is, Yun Zhongmu thought. Suddenly, he froze and saw a flame revolving above Silver Moon's head. A Mage's Skyfall fire wheel instantly formed, and without hesitation he smashed it down. Motherfucker! Which bastard did this? Yun Zhongmu flew into a rage. According to the plan, they would wait until Silver Moon was a certain distance away from the auction house. Then, the members who were pretending to be bored in the square would go up first. Then, the people hiding in the streets would come out. They would surround Silver Moon in a small way, then a large way from the inside to the outside, so that she would have nowhere to run. This Skyfall fire wheel did indeed hit Silvermoon, but at the same time, it also blew out all the thieves hiding in stealth. After being attacked by a mage, Silvermoon saw several thieves suddenly appear beside her. She immediately realized that something had happened, and turned around, wanting to rush back into the auction house. The thieves could only risk their lives to stop her. At this moment, Silvermoon's group had already left, but the auction house's doors weren't closed. Several warriors fiercely rushed out. The thieves didn't recognize them, so they hurriedly raised their hands to defend. The pitiful thieves had already been hit by a Skyfall fire wheel. They weren't a match for the warriors in a direct confrontation. Of course, Yun Zhongmu wasn't in a hurry to find out who the bastard was. He had already rushed out with all his brothers. At the same time, the Central Plaza's bank, trading center, and other buildings all opened their doors, and a large group of players rushed out. What's going on? Yun Zhongmu was confused. Fuck, it's Lani Lani. Zhu Xian roared. Yun Zhongmu turned around and saw a mage wearing a blue robe. It was the former vice guild leader of Dust, Lani. Fuck, is it really a trap? Yun Zhongmu looked around. There were many players rushing out of the buildings. Banks and trading centers were all large buildings. They could easily accommodate hundreds or even thousands of people. The Skyfall fire wheel from before was naturally explained. Of course, it wasn't thrown by one of their own. Yun Zhongmu had long since suspected that his brothers, who had experienced hundreds of battles, wouldn't do something so ridiculous in the middle of a battle. Let's retreat first. Zhu Xian trembled. When he heard that they had fallen into Silvermoon's trap, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Retreat my ass. You bastard. You don't look like you came from your father's side. There are 4,487 brothers in the 10 Guild Alliance, and you're the only one who wants to be a bastard at crucial times. Yun Zhongmu roared at Zhu Xian. He turned around and pulled out his dagger, charging towards Lani. This was the strength of character of the Moonlit Night City players. Before the battle, they would negotiate, plan, set up traps, but once the battle started, they would always press forward with indomitable will. There were only 2 words to describe it: kill them all. When they had the upper hand, they would kill them all. When they were at a disadvantage, they would fight until the other side killed them all. They would never retreat and they would never run away. Yun Zhongmu always believed that these people were his true brothers. Fuck, let's go. Zhu Xian, who had been left behind by Yun Zhongmu, suddenly roared. He waved his giant axe and charged after Yun Zhongmu. Chapter 310. While Yun Zhongmu's subordinates were astonished at the sudden appearance of this group of people, they were also astonished by the sudden appearance of this group of people in the plaza and the sudden appearance of this group of people in the streets. Everyone's gaze turned to their boss. Yun Zhongmu's subordinates were the first to see Yun Zhongmu. Many of them quickly recognized him. Fuck Lani. When Lan Yi saw the thief rushing towards him, he also roared, Fuck Yun Zhongmu. However, the loudest voice came from Silvermoon. He waved his golden sword, and a king's command, light spread out. He roared, Brothers, kill! Both sides quickly entered a phase of close combat. Yun Zhongmu and his subordinates, who had once again been ambushed by Silvermoon, shouted loudly. They swore to kill all of these people in front of them. They wanted to go for wool and come home shorn. On Lan Yi's side, when he heard Silvermoon's shout, he instantly exploded with fighting spirit. His eyes were slightly red, and he commanded his comrades to fiercely counterattack Yun Zhongmu. As soon as the battle came into contact, the central plaza exploded with countless white lights. Yun Zhongmu's group was very experienced in group battles. Lan Yi's group from Moonlit Night City wasn't bad either. After receiving fire, they quickly gathered their strength and tried to kill as many enemies as possible. This was a type of group battle that the players from Moonlit Night City were well versed in. The number of people working together, the consistency of their teamwork, the choice of targets, and so on ultimately reflected the number of enemies that were killed at the same time. It could be said that this was a confrontation of efficiency. The principle was very simple, but the execution was very profound. Moreover, This kind of offensive strategy had extremely high requirements for clerics. Only clerics with exquisite techniques and high tactical attainments could support their own side. Those with rough skills were practically decorations in this kind of strategy. They would only feel as if their own members who were attacked would instantly turn into white light, and they would not be able to find anyone to support at all. It was rare to see such excellent priests. There were many priests on both sides who didn't know what to do and didn't know what to do. The priests couldn't help, so the consumption was even faster. After 2 rounds, the number of people on both sides was greatly reduced. Lan Yi was a magician, so there was no way he would rush to the front lines. Even though Cloud Twilight was charging at him, he was not stupid enough to face it head-on. Cloud Twilight, on the other hand, did not forget the main purpose of this trip. As he fought, he shouted, "Keep an eye on Silver Moon and attack immediately if you have the chance." Cloud Twilight didn't give the order to attack Silver Moon, because he had already seen Silver Moon use King's command. In such an efficient team battle, this kind of enemy should be avoided. They should never take the initiative to attack. Although they had come for the Silver Moon, attacking the Silver Moon now was very likely to lead to the annihilation of the entire army. Cloud Midnight's mind was still very clear. But after he shouted, their opponents were clearly stunned. Lan Yi crazily squeezed out from the back row and shouted, "Stop fucking fighting, we're here to kill Silver Moon too." What? When Yun Zhongmu heard this, he stared blankly for a moment. However, Silver Moon's group had always been treacherous, so he couldn't figure out if this was some kind of trick. Lan Yi was also very fast. He shouted for his comrades to stop. "Everyone, stop attacking." They quickly retreated from the front lines and stopped attacking. Yun Zhongmu no longer suspected that there was a trap. He quickly shouted for his own side to stop attacking as well. Only sporadic fighting was left on the battlefield. Both sides were still confused. Yun Zhongmu smacked his forehead. "Fuck, where's Silver Moon?" Everyone came back to their senses and looked around the plaza, but Silver Moon's group was nowhere to be seen. "Fuck, did no one see her?" Yun Zhongmu and Lan Yi roared at the same time. Everyone looked at each other. "Hurry up and look for her." The two of them shouted again. The two of them felt uncomfortable after shouting at the same time twice. They looked at each other with annoyance, which naturally turned into a staring contest. "I can't find her, I don't know where she went." The people who had gone to the surrounding streets reported back. "Fuck, we've been tricked by this guy." Lan Yi let out a long sigh. Yun Zhongmu wasn't stupid. He immediately understood the crux of the matter. Yun Zhongmu's group naturally thought of Lan Yi as Silver Moon's helper, but when Lan Yi saw Yun Zhongmu, he didn't think that Yun Zhongmu would help Silver Moon. The bad thing was that Silver Moon had shouted, "Brothers, kill." This shout was incomparably sinister. Since it was only one brother, Yun Zhongmu, and the others naturally thought that he was calling out to Lan Yi and the others without the slightest hesitation. As for Lan Yi and the others, because of Silver Moon's shout and Yun Zhongmu's aggressive charge, they instantly thought that Silver Moon had already joined forces with Yun Zhongmu and the others. Naturally, they were unable to vent their anger and fiercely counterattacked. Moreover, the sly Silver Moon knew the fighting style of both sides very well. He knew that it would be a quick and efficient battle of attrition. With this kind of fighting style, he would definitely choose to avoid the Silver Moon warriors who had the king's command. However, both sides treated Silver Moon as an enemy, so there was naturally a vacuum around him. Moreover, this kind of fighting style required absolute concentration. In addition, no one expected Silver Moon to escape. As a result, before Yun Zhongmu could react, he had already taken advantage of the chaos and slipped away. "Fuck, what the fuck?" Yun Zhongmu glared at Lan. "Of all the times to kill Silver Moon, you just had to pick a time for us to act. Fuck you, what the fuck are you doing in Whitestone City? We've been watching this guy for the whole night. If we don't act now, then when?" Lan Yi sneered back. This was the second in command of the previous world. Yun Zhongmu's grudge against him was only slightly less than Silver Moon's and Boundless Mang's. How could he say anything nice right now? Both sides felt that the sudden appearance of the other had ruined the entire plan. The central plaza was filled with hostility, and it looked like they were going to fight again. "Boss, hurry up and chase Silver Moon back." Someone was still very calm. "Chase what? Who can chase Silver Moon who ran away?" The two of them shouted at the same time again. After shouting, they glared at each other. "Don't fucking copy me," Yun Zhongmu shouted first. Lan Yi was originally going to say this, but Yun Zhongmu spoke a word too early. He realized that if he spoke again, it would really sound like he was copying, so he hurriedly changed his words. "Fuck you. If Silver Moon runs away, then I'll fuck you up." Yun Zhongmu was already prepared to attack. "I think you'll be the one to die." Lan Yi didn't back down and waved his hand. At this moment, someone from both sides asked weakly, "Who is this?" These words extinguished the flames of war that were about to erupt. Quite a few people in the two-sided team were newcomers. On Yun Zhongmu's side, their most frequent enemies were the arrogant boundless Mang Mang and the treacherous villain Silver Moon. This third person, Lan Yi, was directly classified as part of the previous world. As for Lan Yi's side, their grievances were directed at the entire 10-guild alliance. If they really wanted to set up a benchmark, Gu Fei would probably be the first choice. Yun Zhongmu didn't have this kind of status. On the contrary, Silver Moon's act of shirking responsibility when the previous world's guild was in a bad state and escaping without a trace caused them to be greatly hurt. Whenever they had nothing to do, they would look down on them. They were regarded as the first person responsible for the collapse of the previous world. At this moment, when people from both sides asked who the other party was, Lan Yi and Yun Zhongmu both came to their senses. Who is the other party? After this question circled around in their minds, their burning passion quickly cooled down. The previous world was just like its name, it was already the previous world. Right now, Lan Yi's group was in Whitestone City. It could be said that they had nothing to do with Yun Zhongmu's group in Moonlit Night City. On the contrary, the fact that they both wanted to kill Silver Moon made them stand on the same side. Wasn't there a saying that the enemy of my enemy is my friend? When the two of them thought of this, they suddenly turned their heads and spat. "What rubbish are you saying? I'm not going to be friends with this guy." Yun Zhongmu looked at Lan Yi with disdain. Lan Yi had the same thought and looked at him with disdain. The hot-bloodedness from Moonlit Night City stirred up again. This kind of disdainful look was enough to cause a PK. The two of them were about to open their mouths again when someone finally asked weakly, "Are we really not going to look for Silver Moon?" After all, Lan Yi had left Moonlit Night City for a long time. His hot-bloodedness had worn off quite a bit in Whitestone City. After hearing this, he calmed down and glared at Yun Zhongmu. "I'm not going to play with you anymore. I'm going to take care of Silver Moon first." After saying this, he left with his companions, making arrangements as he walked. "Kill him, kill him." Seeing that the other party was about to leave, Zhu Xian became anxious. In the past, he had been bullied by everyone. Not only Silver Moon, but Lan Yi had also dealt with him many times. Yun Zhongmu glared at him. "What the hell, let's get down to business first. Fucking Silver Moon is so despicable. She caused so many of our people to die for nothing." At this point, Yun Zhongmu slapped his forehead and hurriedly shouted, "Hurry up and spread the news. Those who died just now, don't come back here. Everyone return to the respawn point, all of them." If Silver Moon wanted to go to the respawn point and log off, he couldn't possibly be faster than these people who died, right? Even if he couldn't catch up and ambush him outside the respawn point, he knew which respawn point he was at. If he left some people to wait for him, there would be a chance to take care of him, right? Yun Zhongmu thought about this and asked the people who died just now if they had all 7 professions. After getting an affirmative answer, he let out a long breath. "Brothers, hold on." Yun Zhongmu knew that everyone was very tired after pulling an all-nighter, so he spoke to boost their morale. "Inform Moonlit Night City to send more people here." Yun Zhongmu said angrily. Chapter 311. Silver Moon's craftiness and treachery were not just for show. Of course, because he was now an annoying fellow, everyone gave him this forward evaluation. Back when Lan Yi and Silver Moon were still partners, Everyone in the guild praised Silvermoon for being smart and resourceful. The collision with Yun Zhongmu triggered Lan Yi's memories of the past. He thought of many of the companions who had fought shoulder to shoulder with him. The encounter with Yun Zhongmu brought back Lan Yi's memories of the past. He thought of many of the partners he had fought with. Although the guild had a bad reputation and everyone was trash, they still had a lot of fun. Big Lan, are you crying? Why are your eyes red? Suddenly, a brother beside him said, Was it necessary? Would he cry just thinking about it? Lan Yi felt that he was not an emotional person. He quickly wiped his eyes, but there were no tears. He looked at his brothers and scolded, What are you crying for? Don't all of you have red eyes from staying up all night? The brothers looked at each other and then rubbed their eyes. It had been 2 hours since they usually logged off. Everyone was very tired. Lan Yi reminisced and started to talk about his glorious days in moonlit Night City. The brothers immediately covered their ears. Fuck, you're saying it again? You've said it a few hundred times. That many? Lan Yi was unhappy. It's less than that woman you mentioned. That Mang Mang, you've said it at least 1,000 times. Mang Mang Cow, don't look at her just because she's a woman. In the past, she was the most loyal and unyielding. Back then, I'll say it 1,001 times. The brothers broke down. Lan Yi did not continue speaking endlessly. He stopped after a few sentences because a group of people were walking towards them. Like them, their eyes were all red, and they were rubbing their eyes as they walked. It was obvious that they were struggling with the demon of confinement. Fuck, I'm so unlucky. Why do I keep bumping into this guy? Lan Yi spat to the side. Yun Zhongmu also saw Lan Yi and immediately gave him the middle finger. Fuck, why aren't you sleeping? Who cares? I'm not sleepy. Lan Yi gave him the middle finger. If you can't do it, then admit defeat. Yun Zhongmu opened his eyes wide and brought his brothers to walk past Lan Yi's group. Scared? Have I ever been scared? Lan Yi also widened his eyes. Unfortunately, Yun Zhongmu had already turned his back on him. Lan Yi turned to his brother. Have I ever been scared? No. Everyone said. Once again, it was a coincidence that caused both sides to leave manpower in the 7 resurrection zones. At this time, Lan Yi and Yun Zhongmu were inspecting the 7th Corps' defenses, so it was inevitable that they would bump into each other. Once again, Silvermoon seemed to have seen through the intentions of both sides. After escaping from the central plaza, she didn't rush to the resurrection point. Now, no one knew where she was hiding. Actually, he had the insane battle formation skill of King's Command. After buffing the 12 of them, it was relatively easy for them to rush into a resurrection point. However, he had already anticipated that he couldn't even reveal which resurrection point he was at. Otherwise, when he came back online, there would definitely be countless people waiting for him outside the resurrection point. In Silvermoon's mind, the 4,000 members of the 10 Societies Alliance were all his enemies, so he didn't dare to rely on reigning the 4 seas. 700 people were really not enough in front of the 10 Society Alliance. If they were really surrounded by the 10 Society Alliance, then even if they were unstoppable, they wouldn't be able to save them. Therefore, at this time, Silvermoon felt that the safest way was to quietly go to the next main city. However, the problem was that Silvermoon had asked Unsworn Sword and knew that the next main city was Forest Shade City, but he did not know how to get there. He asked some players in Whitestone City, but he was unlucky and did not meet anyone who knew. Silvermoon wanted to go out and try her luck, but when the group of people sneaked out, they broke out in cold sweat. Yun Zhongmu and the others hadn't left this place out, so there were still people left behind. Silvermoon groaned inwardly. At first glance, these people didn't seem to be a match for Silvermoon and the others, but the problem was that they wouldn't fight at all. As long as Yun Zhongmu and the others sensed Silvermoon's movements, they would be fine. One had to know that Silvermoon and the others were either warriors or knights, and there were also 2 priests. All of them were ridiculously slow. As long as the opponent was an archer or a thief, they would follow you as soon as they saw you. You wouldn't be able to shake them off, nor would you be able to catch up to them. Why else would class coordination be so important? Silver Moon was currently in an awkward situation and was at her wit's end. On the other hand, Yun Zhongmu was also very anxious. Silver Moon had assumed that they were 4,000 strong and didn't dare to rely on unhindered forces. However, she didn't know that Yun Zhongmu was actually very worried about unhindered forces. First of all, they would definitely suffer heavy losses in such a large-scale battle. He didn't know if his brothers would have any objections if they only fought for Silver Moon alone. Second of all, the boss of the game didn't have that much power. With a wave of his arm, a bunch of hotheads would rush forward to be cannon fodder. Did they think the other players were idiots? At this moment, Yun Zhongmu's plan was to gather as many as he could. As long as they could form a 1,000-man army that could hold unhindered forces off, it would be up to them to decide whether or not Unhindered was willing to fight for Silver Moon. However, the distance between Moonlit City and Whitestone City was 3 hours. Moreover, it was still early in the morning, the time when the overnight players had logged off. The number of players who were online during the day was the lowest of the day. Not to mention that he and his brothers were tired like dogs after a long day. When would they be able to gather a 1,000-man army that would put pressure on unhindered forces? It was a huge problem. Silver Moon wouldn't be calling for help from unhindered forces, would she? Yun Zhongmu sat in a tavern in Whitestone City, deep in thought. Beside him, his brothers had already fallen asleep on the table. Sleepiness was the most frightening enemy right now. Everyone decided to take turns to take naps in order to fight against it. Yun Zhongmu ordered a glass of wine that he hated the most. He would take a sip every now and then to stimulate his nerves and help his brothers keep watch. This was a game, not a classroom. What if someone killed him while he was sleeping on the table? No one in Moonlit City would dare to do such a thing. But alcohol didn't have the ability to stimulate one's senses. Yun Zhongmu had overexerted himself, and the alcohol had gotten to his head. He hurriedly pushed one of his brothers. "Damn it, get up. It's my turn to lie down for a bit." The man stared blankly for a moment, then cursed, "Damn it, it's only been half an hour. Didn't you say it was an hour? Wake me up in half an hour." Just as Yun Zhongmu was about to lie down, there was a creak. The door to the tavern was pushed open. Yun Zhongmu raised his head vigilantly, and when he saw who it was, he was startled. "It's you." Who else could it be other than the Han family young master who had gone straight to the tavern so early in the morning? The Han family young master glanced at Yun Zhongmu as soon as he entered the tavern, then glanced at the guys lying on the table. He asked the tavern owner for a glass of wine and sat down at Yun Zhongmu's table. "What are you guys doing?" "Chasing after Silver Moon. We've been busy all night." Yun Zhongmu sighed. "You didn't succeed?" the Han family young master asked. Yun Zhongmu nodded regretfully. "There was a small hiccup and she got away." "What happened?" The wine was delivered, and the Han family young master drank a glass before asking. Although he didn't like the Han family young master, he wasn't an enemy like Silver Moon. When the other asked, Yun Zhongmu gave a simple explanation of the situation. "Oh, what are you going to do?" the Han family young master asked. And so Yun Zhongmu gave a simple explanation. "Are you going to start a war with reigning the Four Seas?" the Han family young master said. "If they don't back down," Yun Zhongmu said. "They'll definitely back down," the Han family young master said. "Oh. But these guys spent a lot of money to hire all of the best mercenary groups in Cloud City. That's what they're trying to do," the Han family young master said. "So we'll definitely have to fight when the time comes?" Yun Zhongmu said. The Han family young master shook his head. "It's a 1,000-man team. Only your 10-guild alliance has more than that, and now we're going to fight them. TSK, reigning the Four Seas luck really isn't fake." Yun Zhongmu wanted to ask what was going on, but the door was pushed open again. Someone's voice rang out, "Lie down in the tavern for a bit. Everyone will take turns to rest." When Yun Zhongmu heard this voice, he suddenly stood up and cursed, "Lan Yi, are you fucking crazy? You follow me wherever I go." Lan Yi was surprised to see Yun Zhongmu again and immediately retorted, "Why do you follow me wherever I go? You fucking bastard." "What did you say?" Yun Zhongmu slammed the table. Just as Lan Yi was about to explode, young Master Han, who had his back to him, slowly turned around. Lan Yi immediately froze. Fuck, you. Although it had been a long time, the Han family young master's face was still unforgettable. Lan Yi immediately recognized that this was the guy who tricked them into splitting up their forces, giving the 10 Guild Alliance an opportunity. If it wasn't for this person, he might still be burning with passion in Moonlit Night City. Kill this guy. Lan Yi pointed at the Han family young master with one hand while his other hand reached for his magic staff. The brothers behind him also took out their weapons. In a flash, Yun Zhongmu had already rushed in front of the Han family young master. He stared at him. What do you want? Although he didn't like the Han family young master, he was still a friend of a friend. Yun Zhongmu couldn't just watch as Lan Yi bullied him. He fearlessly charged forward while calling out to his brothers. When he turned around and saw that everyone was still sleeping at the table, Yun Zhongmu was furious. He went up and kicked over a table. You're still fucking sleeping? Get up and fight. What? The group of people all got up, wiping their saliva as they took out their weapons. Their gazes quickly searched the tavern as they muttered, Where are they? Where are they? Their gazes swept past Lan Yi's group, but they didn't stop. Where the fuck are you looking for? That's not it. Yun Zhongmu pointed at Lan Yi's group. The group of people waved their hands. Stop messing around, okay? Everyone thought that Yun Zhongmu and Lan Yi were bickering again, and that they were going to fight. If they really wanted to fight, would they wait until now? Yun Zhongmu saw that his brothers were going to lie on the table again and was furious. He didn't know how to explain himself. On the other hand, the Han family young master calmly said, What? Aren't you guys working together to deal with Silver Moon? Chapter 312. After hearing the Han family young master's words, Yun Zhongmu and Lan Yi's bodies emitted a disdainful light. They tried their best to put on a disdainful expression as they looked at each other with disdain. If we bump into Silver Moon, which one of you will do it? Han family young master looked at the two. Nonsense, of course it's me. I'm not far. I came from Moonlit Night City in 3 hours. Do you think it's easy? Yun Zhongmu said. So you know this isn't Moonlit Night City? If you know what's good for you, then be quiet. We'll kill Silver Moon first. Lonnie said. Haha. To be honest, I really don't want to be honest. Don't think that Silver Moon only has 12 people. Brother. Yun Zhongmu heavily patted the Han family young master's shoulder. They all came from Cloud City. There are around 1,000 of them. May I ask, how many people do you have? Why do you care how many people I have? Although Lan Yi said this, he was quite depressed. He had noticed Silver Moon as soon as she arrived at White Stone City. Of course, he knew that Silver Moon wasn't alone. Of course, he didn't have the backing of Yun Zhongmu's 4,000 people. Those brothers from last night were pretty much his limit. After losing the opportunity last night, it would be quite difficult for them to kill Silver Moon with just their strength alone. However, players from Moonlit Night City would rather lose their lives than lose their face. At this moment, they obviously wouldn't be soft-spoken and continued to argue with Yun Zhongmu. The brothers behind him finally couldn't stand it anymore. They all found a seat and said to Lan Yi, Big Lan, you do what you need to do. We'll sleep first. After saying this, they all laid down and went to sleep. Fuck, what are you sleeping for? Get up and fight. Lan Yi went over to grab them. Aya, stop messing around. I'm so tired. You two can argue for a bit. If you're tired, then go to sleep. The brothers here clearly had the same mentality as Yun Zhongmu's brothers. Yun Zhongmu and Lan Yi said at the same time. I say you two, stop arguing. Han family young master said. Fuck, who do you think you are? Of course, Lan Yi was hostile towards the Han family young master. Seeing that the Han family young master wanted to be the peacemaker, he scolded him first. Lan Yi's reason for being hostile towards the Han family young master was very good, so the Han family young master wasn't angry. He calmly said, What I mean is, you two go out and fight. I have a brilliant idea here. If you refuse to cooperate no matter what, then I can only offer it to one side. Cloud Twilight didn't even think about it and immediately laughed. Brother Han, is there anything else to say? Of course it's me. I'm not going to fight with that brat. He's the boss now. In front of so many brothers, I should give him some face. What's your plan? Tell me now. This was actually quite objective. Cloud Twilight was a thief, while Lan Yi was a mage. In a 1v1, a mage would have a hard time dealing with a thief. However, how could Lan Yi be willing to back down now? He gave Yun Zhongmu a look of disdain and said, "Don't tell me you're scared?" Cloud Twilight turned around and looked at him. "Grandson, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Do you really want me to take care of you?" "It's not certain who will take care of who. Don't be so fucking stubborn. I pity you and want to leave you some levels. Once we've killed enough Silver Moon, you can go pick up some trash." "You're the one who wants to leave your levels, right? What? You've been a boss for so long that you've started to treasure yourself? Don't tell me you're going to run away at the next Silver Moon. Fuck you." That Cloud Twilight seemed to have received the greatest insult in the world. His eyes, which were already red from staying up late, looked like they were about to bleed. He pulled out his dagger and rushed towards Lan Yi with quick movement. Scolding was scolding, but when it came to fighting, the players of Moonlit Night City weren't careless. Lan Yi didn't dare to challenge a thief like Cloud Morning just because he was stubborn. He still had some confidence in himself. As soon as he saw Yun Zhongmu charging towards him, he stretched out his hand and muttered something. With a pa-la sound, Cloud Zhongmu, together with a chair, fell onto the ground. Yun Zhongmu was still at a loss, but Lan Yi didn't let go of this opportunity. He waved his staff and chanted. A bolt of lightning struck Cloud Zhongmu's head. It was the first skill of a lightning mage, lightning spell. Lan Yi unexpectedly didn't take the normal path like Gu Fei. He chose the lightning path, which was rarely chosen by mages. His lightning couldn't compare to Gu Fei's, but Cloud Twilight didn't suffer much. He quickly climbed up from the ground and continued to rush forward. However, the fall had interrupted his stealth, so he couldn't use it on cooldown yet. Cloud Twilight's speed was reduced. Lan Yi made full use of the structure of the room. He circled around the tables and stools, and as soon as the cooldown was over, he would use lightning. Spells like Fireball and Chain Fireball were slower than lightning, so he didn't use them at all. Cloud Twilight was on fire. Circling around the tables like this, he had an advantage in agility, but he couldn't use his maximum speed. He couldn't catch up to Lan Yi for a long time. When this lightning struck his body, it would numb him. He definitely couldn't continue like this. Cloud Twilight didn't chase foolishly anymore. He began to kick away the stools and tables. As he chased, he prepared to clear out a large area so that Lan Yi couldn't escape. It was a quiet time in the game. Apart from the two groups and the Han family young master, there was no one else in the tavern. Lan Yi flew around freely. Cloud Twilight chased after him. He was struck by lightning while working as a porter. He didn't give up. Son of a bitch, his magic defense isn't low. He's still quite energetic after taking so many hits, Lan Yi said as he continued to run around. He had already cast lightning 4 times on Cloud Twilight. "Don't worry, it's enough to catch up to you. You'll regret not having 2 more legs." Cloud Twilight was full of confidence. Just like that, the fight in the tavern became a bit more lively. The Han family young master was happy to see it, but the brothers on both sides who were sleeping on the tables were woken up. They looked at the scene in front of them with sleepy eyes. After a moment of shock, they all jumped up and took out their weapons. Fuck, they're really going to fight. Apart from that, someone said unhappily, if they want to fight, they should have fought earlier. Why did they pick now? I'm so tired. That's right, that's right. There were actually quite a few people who agreed. They were all talking and yawning at the same time. The brothers on both sides stared at each other. The Han family young master had already taken his wine bottle and cup to the corner to make room for them. However, the two sides still hadn't started fighting. Everyone had probably experienced this before. When you really needed sleep, nothing would be able to arouse your interest, especially when you were in the middle of a good sleep. At this moment, you would only have one wish, to quickly deal with what needed to be dealt with and then go back to sleep. At this moment, there was only one way to quickly deal with the situation in front of them. The players on both sides acted at the same time. Lan Yi's brothers grabbed onto Lan Yi, while Cloud Twilight's comrades grabbed onto Cloud Twilight. Stop fighting, stop fighting. What's there to fight about? If you have the energy, why don't you just sleep for a bit? Both sides grabbed onto their own leaders and returned to their seats. Let me go! Cloud Twilight roared. Let me kill him. Kill me? How much HP do you have? I'll kill you with a lightning strike. Lan Yi said as he raised his hand to cast another lightning spell. In the end, his mouth was gagged by his own people, and he couldn't say another word. On the other side, Cloud Twilight's treatment was similar. He was forcefully pulled back by his brothers and pressed onto a bench. Go to sleep. Stop messing around. Save your energy for Silver Moon. The players from Moonlit Night City didn't go up to help during the PK. Instead, they were trying to stop the fight. Such a strange scene had finally happened in a situation where sleep was urgently needed. The temptation of sleep was too great. Otherwise, why would humans spend a third of their time sleeping? After pulling Cloud Twilight back, two warriors were afraid that he would run again. They each grabbed one of his arms and used it as a pillow. They laid it on the table and fell asleep. Cloud Twilight didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He struggled with all his might. Damn, let me go. The two of them snored like thunder. Damn you, I'm not going up to fight anymore. Alright? Cloud Twilight's arm was quietly released. He helplessly pulled it back and looked at Lan Yi. Lan Yi's situation was similar to his. He only let go of his brother after making the same promise. The two of them glared at each other, then looked at their brother with disdain. Damn, a bunch of good-for-nothings. Cloud Twilight cursed. Sleep, sleep, sleep to death. Lan Yi said. At this moment, the Han family young master floated over with a glass of wine. You too, since you can't get a result, let's make it simpler. Rock, paper, scissors? Do you dare? Cloud Twilight said with disdain. Are you stupid? Why wouldn't I dare? Lan Yi got up and walked over, but he was grabbed by his brother. Let go. Didn't you hear me? Rock, paper, scissors. Lan Yi cursed and was released. The two of them walked to the center of the tavern and looked at each other with disdain. Grandson, don't take advantage of your low agility to attack slowly. Cloud Twilight said. Don't attack too quickly. If you lose, you'll blame me for being slow and not admitting defeat. Lan Yi said. Motherfucker, do you think you're in the right if you win? Cloud Twilight said. Are you an idiot? I'm a mage. Do you think I'm faster than you? You better fucking slow down. Don't say I'm cheating later. Lan Yi cursed. How fucking fast can you attack? Tell me first. Cloud Twilight said. You do. The Han family young master couldn't take these two anymore. How about this, don't attack. Each of you find a piece of paper and write it down. I'll read it for you, okay? Then it's settled. The two of them took a piece of paper and wrote it down. When they finished, they carefully handed it over to the Han family young master. The Han family young master didn't hesitate and flipped it over to show them. Ha! Cloud Twilight laughed. One cut and it's gone. I'll castrate you. Cloud Twilight wrote scissors, while Lan Yi wrote paper. The victor was decided. Lan Yi's luck wasn't good. He didn't say anything else and retreated. Han family brothers, what's your plan? Tell me. Cloud Twilight was in a good mood. He spoke to the Han family young master much more warmly. He continued to look at Lan Yi with disdain and provocative eyes. Chapter 313. The quarrel between the two finally came to an end with a rock-paper-scissors game. Although it was just a child's game, Lan Yi still had the integrity to admit defeat. He sat back down and didn't say anything, letting the anger in his heart burn him. Han brothers, what's the plan? Hurry up and tell us. Yun Zhongmu urged the Han family young master. It's like this. It's not worth it to make such a big scene just for a petty person like Silver Moon. So many of us are fighting to the death for a guy like him. It's too displeasing. The Han family young master said. Indeed. Do you have any good ideas? Yun Jongmu nodded and asked. Like this. You, take some people to guard the knight's camp in Whitestone City. Our child elite group will be responsible for sending Silver Moon back to you tonight. Han family young master said. Isn't this inappropriate? Yun Jongmu was startled. He wasn't doubting the ability of the child elite group, but the situation they were in. They were teammates on a quest together. If they attacked Silver Moon during the quest, how would the 1,000 players view them? Did this guy not know the seriousness of this matter? Han family young master knew what he was thinking and said indifferently, Don't worry, we'll do it secretly. Will it work? This time, Yun Jongmu was a little doubtful of their ability. With Silver Moon's cunning, he would definitely be on guard against his enemies. They all wanted to get the black brick at any time, let alone someone like Silver Moon who was good at using black bricks. Making a move in secret was easy to say, but would Silver Moon give them the chance? You don't need to worry about this. If you trust us, then we'll have to trouble you. Han family young master said. Break? Trouble? Yun Jongmu didn't understand. Big brother, we're a mercenary group. Don't tell me you don't know the rules. Han family young master looked at him helplessly. Yun Jongmu suddenly stood up. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't know the rules, but he didn't think Han family young master would talk about it. In his mind, it was necessary for friends to help each other. Talking about money was really an insult to their friendship. For a straightforward and heroic man like him, he would definitely regard money as dirt and place friendship as the most important thing. The little bit of goodwill he had for the Han family young master had already vanished like smoke in thin air. Yun Jongmu looked at the smiling face in front of him and only felt that it was extremely disdainful. Sure enough, I didn't see wrongly. This person is too loathsome, definitely not someone of my generation. Cloud Twilight thought to himself. But for the sake of our friendship, we won't charge you a high price, said the Han family young master. No need. Yun Jongmu's expression was grave and stern. Since this is business, let's not talk about friendship. How much should it be? Boss Yun is a straightforward person. Han family young master drank the wine and stood up. After the job is done, you will receive my quotation. Don't you need a deposit? This is against the rules, isn't it? Yun Jongmu said calmly. An employer who took the initiative to offer a deposit was definitely an anomaly. These words were full of Cloud Twilight's deep mockery. There's no need for that. Boss Yun's character is somewhat reliable, said the Han family young master. Somewhat reliable? Yun Jongmu clenched his fist. The Han family young master smiled. Everyone, there's nothing else. Wash up and go to sleep. I'll be leaving first. The young master of the Han family bought a few more bottles of wine to take away and proudly prepared to leave. Before he left, he looked at Lan Yi and asked, That skill of yours, it's something like teleportation, right? Lan Yi was startled and didn't reply. The Han family young master had already left. However, Yun Jongmu glared at him. Brat, did you cheat just now? Bullshit, it's all a skill in the game. You lost and you don't want to admit it? Lan Yi scolded back. Who the fuck lost? Yun Jongmu roared. If you don't accept it, come again. The scolding started again, and the tavern never had a peaceful day. After the Han family young master came out, he didn't think about this matter anymore. This plan didn't require any special arrangements. At this time, it didn't matter if Yun Jongmu and the others continued to find Silver Moon and ravage her, or if they just let her be and waited outside the knight's encampment at night. It didn't really affect what the Han family young master wanted to do. After 6 p.m., the players of Cloud City came online one after another and gathered at the north gate of Whitestone City. A long snaking line was also moving from the direction of the dungeon. It was Todd who had just been rescued from the dungeon by Reigning Four Seas, and they were heading over. At the front of the line, the guild leader of Unsworn Sword, who had personally escorted Todd, was in high spirits. They had already passed through 2 main cities and completed 2/5 of the quest. It seemed like they hadn't run into any big trouble yet. The casualties were basically negligible. The biggest losses were from those who didn't dare to follow when they first crossed the ravine. The 6 members of the child elite group were among the mercenary players, carefully searching for something. They looked around, but all they did was shake their heads. "Did you see Silvermoon?" they asked each other in the channel. The answers were all negative. Everyone had already heard from the Han family young master that they had taken on the quest to help Yun Zhongmu send Silvermoon back to White Stone City. They were all very happy to take on this task. With Gu Fei's powerful firepower and the exquisite coordination of the others, it would only take a few seconds to publicly kill Silvermoon. It was guaranteed that even the gods wouldn't be able to save her. However, due to the pressure of public opinion, they had to be careful. When they asked their young master what his plan was, the answer they received was 4 words: play it by ear. Now that the opportunity hadn't come yet, they couldn't even find Silvermoon. Don't worry, he's definitely in the crowd. If he doesn't take this opportunity to leave White Stone City, then he really doesn't want to live anymore, Han family young master said with certainty. Silvermoon was indeed in the midst of reigning 4 Seas team. It had been a tough day for him. He had stayed up from morning until now, drifting around the city. The slightest movement would cause him to break out in cold sweat. He stayed up all the way until nighttime, when he and a few of his brothers quietly made their way to the dungeon. Just as he expected, reigning the 4 Seas members had gathered here. After Silvermoon and Sworn Sword greeted each other, she blended into their group and traveled together. Silvermoon didn't reveal his current situation to Unsworn Sword, because he understood very well that his relationship with Unsworn Sword was still shallow. Unsworn Sword definitely wouldn't think that Silvermoon was more important than the interests of reigning 4 Seas. If Silvermoon's opponents were just a few petty thieves, Unsworn Sword would definitely rely on his numbers to help him. However, if he knew that his opponents were the 10 Meetings Alliance, then he definitely wouldn't hesitate to throw Silvermoon out like a hot potato. Silvermoon's current thoughts were to quietly sneak out of reigning 4 Seas crowd. After all, it was very difficult to find a specific person among a few hundred people. He was afraid that the people from the 10 Meetings Alliance would go all out. In order to deal with him, Silvermoon would not hesitate to challenge the thousands of people in Cloud City. The men of the 10 Meetings Alliance definitely had this kind of bearing, so Silvermoon was very worried. Once the 10 Meetings Alliance challenged him, this fight probably wouldn't happen, and Unsworn Sword would definitely happily sell him out. So at this time, Silvermoon had a backup plan. First, he would follow the crowd. Once he found a large group of people coming out to challenge him, he would immediately shout, "Brothers!" and then take advantage of the chaos to slip away. So when he approached the city gate, Silvermoon became more and more nervous and kept looking around. However, other than the group of people from Cloud City waiting for them at the city gate, there was no sign of any other large group. Until he followed the group out of the gate and left the city for a long time, the people that Silvermoon thought would definitely appear did not show up. Just like that. Silvermoon was very surprised. In order to kill him, Yun Zhongmu deliberately chased him all the way to White Stone City. He didn't believe that the other party would let him go so easily. But where were they at this time? Even if they didn't show up in public, they were probably secretly watching his movements, right? Thinking of this, Silvermoon hid in the crowd, bowed his head and tried to pretend to disappear. However, this wasn't a long-term solution. He had to think of a way to confirm if there were any annoying people following him. Although he hadn't slept for a long time, Silvermoon's mind was still sharp. He had originally wanted to ask one of his brothers to pretend to be behind the group and go to a nearby leveling area to observe if there were any pursuers. However, if the other party was a thief in stealth, he wouldn't be able to detect them even if they were right next to him. However, this wasn't a problem for the cunning, or rather, quick-witted Silvermoon. After thinking for a while, he immediately looked for Unhindered the 4 Seas leader, Unsworn Sword. Unsworn, it seems like someone is secretly following us. Silvermoon said very seriously. Oh, who is it? How do you know? Unsworn Sword hurriedly asked. One of my brothers. Silvermoon began to make up a story. Something urgent happened, so I can't play anymore. Just now, on the way back to the city, I saw someone asking players who were passing by the leveling area where we were going. Then they came running in our direction. Silvermoon said. Is that so? Then where are they now? Unsworn Sword asked. I don't know. That brother of mine had something urgent to do. After telling me, he didn't follow to see what happened and hurriedly returned to the city. Silvermoon said regretfully. It definitely isn't anything good. Unsworn Sword said, hurriedly summoning the core leaders, Reflection Years and Feng Xing. When Reflection Years heard this, he immediately asked, Are you sure it's players and not NPCs? NPC. There's no need for NPCs to ask players about us, right? Silvermoon said. Players? Why are players following us? Reflection Years also began to ponder. Maybe they saw so many of us gathered together and are curious about what we want to do? Feng Xing guessed. It's best if we find these people and ask them. Silvermoon said. But don't let the news leak. Let's continue moving forward. I'll make some arrangements. Reflection Years said. Let's do that. Thank you, Brother Silvermoon. Unsworn Sword patted Silvermoon. You're welcome. We're here to help. Silvermoon rubbed his red eyes and smiled. Chapter 3:14. Unsworn Sword and the others didn't dare to be careless in the slightest when faced with the dangers of their own guild's quests. The team continued forward. At this time, Reflection Years had already found 2 thieves and instructed them to stay in place after entering stealth. They were to observe if any players were following them. The 2 players were from the mercenary group. This was also the main guiding principle of this mission. If there was danger, the mercenary group would go first. The 2 thieves stayed at the end of the party in stealth. Unsworn Sword and Reflection Years anxiously waited for news. Silvermoon's anxiety wasn't any less than theirs. In fact, she seemed even more concerned. This made Unsworn Sword and Reflection of Years extremely touched. In such a materialistic world, where else could they find such a responsible mercenary? Just think of those guys from the child elite group. They only knew how to ask for money. The party continued forward for another 15 minutes, but there was still no news. The core leaders were all thinking. Silvermoon was about to give them a hint, but Unsworn Sword already said to Reflection Years, maybe it's a thief. They're already in stealth. Probably. Reflection Years nodded. If that's the case, we can't just sit back and wait, Unsworn Sword said. But if we let them keep following behind, it's not certain who will discover who, Reflection Years said. Everyone nodded. In the early stages of the game, thieves were the best choice for a large-scale party like this. However, as players leveled up and their equipment improved, thieves were starting to fall behind. But because of speed. When a thief entered stealth, their movement speed would be greatly reduced to 25% of their original movement speed. The slowest class in the parallel world, priests, had a movement speed growth of 0.7. Without agility, their naked running speed at level 40 was 70 plus 40x 0.7 is equal to 98. Currently, there was a new popular level 40 item called the Boots of Nimbleness, which gave priests a movement speed of plus 80. This way, a priest's movement speed could reach 178. The Boots of Nimbleness were produced in large quantities and had a low market price, so the usage rate was very high. Even ordinary priests could get a pair. These characters were basically first-rate or quasi-first-rate players. Their shoes could only be better than this. They couldn't be any worse. For a thief to reach this level while in stealth, they would need to have 712 movement speed. 712 movement speed was no joke. This was a superhuman number. Gu Fei's movement speed was already considered to be extremely high, but it was only around 500. Even the slimming dance wasn't as freakish as the 712's movement. That was why, unless players were intentionally slowing down, the days of thieves boldly tailing players in stealth were long gone. At this time, the Cloud City players were advancing at full speed. If a thief tried to tail them, they would only be left behind if they maintained stealth the entire time. So, from time to time, they would need to reveal themselves and chase after them. How to catch them when they appear was the main topic of research for anti-thief tailing. For example, Unsworn Sword and the others had used previously, letting a few thieves enter stealth and observe the situation from the sidelines was obviously a method to test their luck. Who knows if the thief will reveal himself when he passes by your line of sight? Qianli from Child Elite Group seems to have anti-stealth abilities when he's drunk, Feng Xing said. Damn, without him, how are we going to complete this quest? Reflection Years was indignant. Unsworn Sword was also a bit unhappy. If he went looking for him again, who knew how much more money that Han family young master would have to extort from him? Speaking of which, it was strange. Why did this quest seem to be designed for Qianli drunk? He needed to come out and solve the crisis from time to time. Don't look for him, we'll think of a way ourselves. Reflection Years said to Unsworn Sword. Unsworn Sword nodded and turned his gaze to his mercenary role model, Silvermoon. Brother Silvermoon, do you have any good ideas? At the moment, the only thing that can be anti-stealth is traps, Silvermoon said. Traps. Reflection Years muttered. This isn't very reliable either. If we don't know the enemy's route, it's useless. Let's try it as a last resort for now. Isn't there such a group this time? Unsworn Sword said. Reflection Years nodded and sent a message to his group, calling for the leader of the big hunt, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka, to come over. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka quickly rushed over and greeted everyone. As soon as Silvermoon saw this person, she recognized him as the fellow who was currently mingling with Boundless Mang. She thought that he probably wouldn't have a good expression on his face, so she didn't ask for a rebuff and consciously dodged to the side. Sure enough, when Tsubasa Sakuratsuka saw Silvermoon, he looked down on him. After being chased for a whole day the day before yesterday, they had to understand the whole story. Silvermoon's role as a scumbag in this story couldn't be explained from any angle. What's the matter? Tsubasa Sakuratsuka asked Unsworn Sword and the others. Reflection Years quickly explained, then asked, most of your group are spies, right? Tsubasa Sakuratsuka sighed regretfully. Originally, but a few days ago, 22 of them died in Moonlit Night City, so they're no longer. That's true. Reflection Years was in a trance. When they left Moonlit Night City, the various mercenary groups compared their losses in Moonlit Night City. He heard that Tsubasa Sakuratsuka boasted that they fought against the 10 Guild Alliance and sacrificed 22 people. At that time, everyone thought he was bragging, but now they knew it was true. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's face was full of grievance. What do you think? Less is less. There should be some spies in the other groups and our guild, right? Let's gather them together first. Brother Tsubasa, take command. Unsworn Sword said, then turned his head to the side and added, what do you think, Brother Silvermoon? You bastard, Silvermoon thought. At this moment he really wanted to cry, but no tears came out. However, he also knew that Unsworn Sword's words and actions were not beyond reproach. After all, this was Silvermoon's idea. Asking for Unsworn Sword's opinion before coming up with the plan was also a sign of Unsworn Sword's respect and respect for him. As expected, when Tsubasa Sakuratsuka heard that this plan included Silvermoon's shares, he was very unhappy. It was as if he was sent by Silvermoon to work for him. This was too embarrassing. Thinking of this, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka suddenly clutched his stomach. My stomach hurts. Not good, not good. I'm going to leave first. You guys organize yourselves. Reflection Years had just called out a word, but Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's 500+ movement speed was fake. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. What happened? Reflection Years looked at Unsworn Sword in confusion. I don't know. Unsworn Sword was also at a loss. They weren't stupid. Of course, they wouldn't believe the stomach pain. It was obviously an excuse. That's what you get for your mouth. Silvermoon thought to himself. Without them, we really can't gather up lurkers. Reflection Years was depressed. Lurkers were an unpopular class to begin with, and very few people switched to it. Reigning the Four Seas used arrow array as their signature skill, so they encouraged their archers to switch to marksmen. As for those who didn't know how to use traps, they could wait until the guild leveled up before recruiting. So right now, they didn't have any talents in this area. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's sudden departure immediately ruined their plan. If this doesn't work, let's find Qianli and get drunk. Feng Xing said. Unsworn Sword and Reflection Years gritted their teeth. Silvermoon also casually said, once Qianli gets drunk, he's not too reliable, right? On the surface, he seemed very casual, but in reality, Silvermoon was extremely nervous. He had been busy for half a day, not for some Reigning the Four Seas quest, but for his own safety. He wanted to find out if there were any scouts from Yun Zhongmu or Lan Yi. If there were, then he would use Reigning the Four Seas to deal with them. If he let Qianli get drunk, he would quickly be in cahoots with the other side. When he returned, he would definitely tell Unsworn Sword, it's fine, it's fine. Go on. That person is indeed very shameless, despicable, and cunning. Reflection Years said. Silvermoon was very happy to hear this. But his skills are indeed terrifying. Feng Xing said. Silvermoon wasn't happy to hear this, but she couldn't help but be convinced. Leaving this matter to him will definitely be no problem. Unsworn Sword said. Silvermoon's face was ashen. But the problem is that it's too expensive. Unsworn Sword continued. Silvermoon's face showed a hint of life. What the hell is this Tsubasa Sakuratsuka doing? Reflection Years mumbled. He called out twice in the channel, but no one answered. Silvermoon didn't dare to make a sound. I'll go find him. Reflection Years wanted to go talk to Tsubasa Sakuratsuka face to face. Silvermoon was happy again. Forget it. Unsworn Sword said, from the looks of it, he probably wants to use this opportunity to ask for a high price. Since he's going to pay, why not let the more reliable and effective Qianli get drunk? Silvermoon really wanted to strangle Unsworn Sword to death. Reflection Years was also very unhappy, but he also admitted that Unsworn Sword's words were reasonable. Since Tsubasa Sakuratsuka also wanted to extort money, he might as well find Qianli and get drunk. Let's call him. Unsworn Sword sighed. He couldn't help but think of the Han family young master, and subconsciously touched his money bag. This time, Silvermoon took the initiative to stand in a conspicuous position. He hoped that when Qianli saw him, he would be like Tsubasa Sakuratsuka and leave in disdain. When Gu Fei arrived, Silvermoon didn't wait for Sword of Oathless to say anything. She took the initiative to help Gu Fei, secretly ordering him around in a commanding tone. Unfortunately, he underestimated our teacher Gu Fei's professionalism. Gu Fei didn't say a word. He quietly listened to their plan and nodded, saying, okay, I got it. You guys continue on your way. Please. Unsworn Sword patted Gu Fei's shoulder. Gu Fei nodded and pointed at Silvermoon, saying, be careful. Silvermoon's entire body froze. The surrounding players looked at him as if they were looking at a dead man. Chapter 315. Gu Fei's parting words made Silvermoon almost want to pack up and run away. He felt that if Gu Fei went, not only would he not discover anything, he might even draw the assassins that wanted to kill him to his side. He had been too careless. How could he have exposed himself to Qianli's drunken? Silvermoon was filled with regret and hatred. However, Silvermoon didn't want to just sit there and wait for death. In the blink of an eye, he had another idea. Should we give Qianli's drunken a few helpers? They have their own mercenary group. Unsworn Sword's reply made Silvermoon feel that if he didn't leave now, he really wouldn't have another chance. However, Unsworn Sword quickly slapped his head. That's right, we don't need to use all their people. We can send our own helpers. Unsworn Sword just wanted to reduce the cost. However, this made Silvermoon very happy. If Reigning the Four Seas people followed him, would Gu Fei still be able to go easy on Cloud Morning and the others? Don't let him know. Follow him in secret. Silvermoon's plan was more ruthless than the last. If Gu Fei had followed him from all four corners of the world, he would have pretended that he hadn't noticed him and used his information to guide him. If he followed him in secret, he might be able to see Gu Fei going easy on them. Not only would he be able to take care of Cloud Morning and the others, but Gu Fei would also be seen as a traitor. This was the legendary killing two birds with one stone. However, after saying this, the The three core members of Reigning the Four Seas looked at Silvermoon strangely. Not good. Silvermoon thought to himself. It's too obvious. Silvermoon opened his mouth to say something to cover up, but he heard Time's reflection say, "Stealth is useless against Qianli's drunken." Silvermoon froze. In a moment of desperation, he had forgotten about this and came up with an unreliable idea. Not resting for a long time and being extremely nervous and anxious, this was a huge blow to a person's mind. Silvermoon was in such a state right now. But let's call some thief brothers. Sneaking around Qianli's drunken will numb the enemy. Unsworn Sword said. They didn't know what Silvermoon was planning. I'll arrange it. Time's reflection said. For these kinds of people who might have to face a battle, the first choice was naturally the mercenaries. Mercenary groups like the Child Elite Group had to charge extra fees for doing something special. This was a special clause that the Han family young master had fought for. Most of the mercenary groups had a one-off deal with Unhindered 4Cs. They would receive the money and obey Unhindered 4Cs orders. It was that simple. Find someone reliable. Unsworn Sword said. Should we ask Little Shang to bring some people over? Reflection of Years asked Unsworn Sword for his opinion. All right. Unsworn Sword nodded. Honestly speaking, there were so many mercenary groups out there, and the only one that could be considered trustworthy was the Rainbow Cloud mercenary group led by Gu Xiaoshang. In the mercenary competition, Gu Xiaoshang had lost to the 4th place against the current mercenary group. On the Child Elite Group's side, when Gu Fei returned, everyone naturally asked him what was going on. When Gu Fei said this, a few of them understood and said, Cloud Twilight's people? There's no need for him to send people over. What are you guessing about? Won't we know after asking? After sending the message to Cloud Twilight, he became nervous. No, we're all preparing at the knight's camp. What, is there an accident? There's no problem. Sword Demon, who was in charge of communication, replied. In the end, he said to the other side, it's not Cloud Twilight. There's another person. Han family young master said, he also wants to kill Silvermoon. I think it's someone from the previous world. It might be them. That's still someone who's on the same side. Unscathed in battle said. Han family young master frowned and asked Gu Fei, there's someone following us. The people behind us don't know, but the people in front of them know first. Gu Fei spread his hands, indicating that he didn't know. Maybe Silvermoon has already sensed it. Brother, you said. There's no need to sense it. He'll figure it out even if he thinks. But, if it's his plan, why would he ask Qianli to come out? This won't help him at all. Han family young master was smart, but he didn't expect Silvermoon to lift a rock and smash his own foot. At this time, he was also depressed. But this guy is following Unsworn Sword and the others. It won't be easy for us to take action. Sword Demon said. Causing internal strife in front of Unsworn Sword and the others was too much. It was too unbecoming of a mercenary. But we finally know where he is. Brother, you said. For them, the biggest value of Gu Fei's trip was that he found Silvermoon's location. This was Silvermoon's oversight. He was anxious about the east and forgot about the west. Forget it, you go. The people following behind are most likely targeting Silvermoon. Look at the situation and let them go. Han family young master said. You guys aren't going? Gu Fei was surprised. Reflection Years already informed me. This time, they're asking for your help. The rest of us won't get much money even if we help. Why would we go? Han family young master stretched. Then I'll go. Gu Fei did not mind. Just as he was about to leave the group, he saw a large group of people walking in the opposite direction and stopping in front of them. The woman in the lead was Gu Xiaoshang, who had argued with Sworn Sword at the mercenary gathering in the tavern. Qianli is drunk. We'll go with you, the woman called out as she reached him. Oh. Han family young master suddenly understood. Wait here. I was wondering how we could let Qianli go. There's an army supervisor. Han family young master spoke as if there was no one else around, completely ignoring the fact that the woman was right in front of him. Gu Xiaoshang turned her head and glanced at him, but ignored him. She turned back to Gu Fei and said, "Let's go." Gu Fei nodded his head and followed them out of the group. They weren't going anywhere, they just wanted to wait for the people behind them. So, Gu Xiaoshang waved her hand. The thieves in her group immediately went into stealth, leaving only her and Gu Fei standing in the middle of the path. "My name is Gu Xiaoshang." Gu Xiaoshang introduced herself to Gu Fei. Qianli is drunk. Although the other party had already called his name, a formal introduction was still necessary. "I heard you're really strong?" Gu Xiaoshang said. "I'm okay," Gu Fei said. "You're not humble at all." Gu Xiaoshang laughed. "I'm already humble." Gu Fei laughed. "In my situation, if I say no, I'm still bad. Isn't that just insulting people?" "Ha!" Gu Xiaoshang laughed. She pulled out a huge sword from her pocket and stuck it in front of her. The orange-red warrior armor wasn't as exquisite as the ones chosen by the average female player. What stood out from the rest was the orange cape draped over her shoulders, fluttering in the wind behind her. It was very eye-catching. Seeing that Gu Fei was looking at her cape, Gu Xiaoshang laughed. "How is it? Cool, right?" Gu Fei also laughed. "Cool. But fighting will be a bit of a hindrance." The cape was indeed cool, but if you really fought, dragging such a long piece of cloth behind you and letting it flutter in the wind, who knows when it might wrap around your arms or legs. That would basically be useless. Not to mention the cape, even Gu Fei's night spirit robe wasn't very convenient to move around in. After all, it wasn't designed for a warrior. The long hem, in particular, was very troublesome. However, Fireball's method of unbuttoning the mage's robe seemed to be a solution. Gu Fei already had the intention to wear it that way, but just as Fireball said, his inner clothes were too ugly. He had to update them first. "I can take it off when I fight." Gu Xiaoshang waved her hand and pulled the cape off her neck. She reached out to grab it and gestured to Gu Fei. "Look, it's very convenient." "Around your neck? Doesn't it feel tight?" Gu Fei was surprised. "Not at all. Look, there are 2 buckles here. They're actually hanging on my shoulder pads. The knot is just to secure it. It's specially designed for my armor. How about it? Are you interested?" Gu Xiaoshang asked. "Forget it." Gu Fei laughed. "If you want to do it, find me anytime. I know a player in Cloud City who's learning tailoring. What's even better is that he's a fashion designer and his skills are very good. There's someone here." Gu Fei cried out. Gu Xiaoshang quickly picked up the long sword in front of her. "Oh, I'm sorry, I saw wrongly." Gu Fei said. "Oh." Gu Xiaoshang stuck the sword back into the ground and pitifully put the cape back on her body. Gu Fei was speechless. This person's aura was very strong, but it was definitely a woman. Speaking of which, how do you counter stealth? Gu Xiaoshang asked Gu Fei. "Killing intent." Gu Fei said. "Killing intent?" Gu Xiaoshang didn't understand. "Yeah, I practice martial arts, so I'm very sensitive to these things." Gu Fei said. "Really?" Gu Xiaoshang said. "Of course." "Then teach me." Gu Xiaoshang said. "Without 10 years of hard work, you won't be able to do it." Gu Fei said. "Don't try to scare me. You must be joking." Gu Xiaoshang said. Gu Fei bitterly laughed. "It's true." Gu Xiaoshang still didn't believe him. Just as he was about to say something, he saw Gu Fei's smile disappear. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a long sword. "Someone's coming." "What?" "Stealth. It's right in front of us." Gu Fei said as he raised his hand. "Flaming 3,000 layers flames. Rise." "Aya, don't insta-kill him. Let's talk." Gu Xiaoshang hurriedly said. "Got it. Tell your subordinates to stop staring at me and stand in a line." Gu Fei said. Chapter 316. It wasn't easy for the stealthy thieves to set up a formation. Because they couldn't see each other, the slightest contact would expose both of them. This was something that thieves had to be very careful about in a team. The settings of the parallel world weren't complicated. In fact, it was even simpler than many old MMOs. But because of the holographic simulation, there was a lot to learn. Regardless of how the thieves lined up, no one would bump into each other and expose themselves. On the other hand, Gu Xiaoshang looked at Gu Fei in surprise. "Where's your spell?" "It's a bit slow." As soon as Gu Fei finished his words, the ground in front of him was suddenly engulfed in flames. Amidst the flames, 5 thieves instantly revealed themselves. Gu Fei's casting was very stealthy. Plus, the other side didn't expect that the person in front of them could see through their stealth, so they weren't on guard. The spell hit all of them. Gu Fei raised his hand and pointed in a certain direction. "Heavenly Fire Wheel, descent." Before the fire wheel appeared, 3 thieves had already flashed out of the ground and fled in all directions. There was nothing they could do. Moving in stealth was too slow. It was impossible to dodge the bombardment of AoE spells. Since they would be exposed anyway, they might as well show themselves to avoid the damage. Gu Fei had set his main hand to be empty-handed, so the 2 AoE spells didn't do much damage. The 8 thieves were at a loss. They didn't know how they were discovered. Gu Xiaoshang stepped forward with unparalleled momentum. She gently pulled the knot of her cloak with her left hand. With a whoosh, the wind blew her cloak off her shoulders. She was so cool that words couldn't describe it. "For you." Gu Xiaoshang grabbed the long sword in the ground with her right hand and asked in a low voice. Gu Fei leaned over and whispered, "Your cloak has been blown away by the wind." Gu Xiaoshang hurriedly looked back. Sure enough, her cloak didn't fall to the ground. Because the wind was too strong, it just floated away. But she didn't panic and snapped her fingers in the wind. Immediately, one of the thieves beside him revealed his true form and chased after the cloak. Everyone was dumbfounded. It was rare to see such a cool girl. Ahem. Gu Fei coughed to remind everyone to pay attention. Everyone came back to their senses. Gu Xiaoshang raised his hand. "Surround them." The 8 people were naturally quite shocked because they only saw 3 people, and one of them had gone to chase after the cloaked figure. Of course, from the movements of the person chasing after the cloaked figure, the 8 of them quickly realized that their opponent also had a thief hiding nearby. "Who are you people?" Gu Xiaoshang asked again. The 8 of them did not answer. "Who are you looking for?" Gu Fei's question was very enlightening. At the same time, he was thinking about how he should go easy on these 8 people if they were looking for Silver Moon. However, the 8 of them still did not answer. This made the 2 of them very hesitant. Gu Fei needed to confirm the other party's identity, but Gu Xiaoshang also wanted to find out the other party's intentions. "If you don't say anything, we're going to make a move," Gu Xiaoshang threatened. However, the thief on the other side revealed a look of disdain and finally replied to Gu Xiaoshang. "Attack? How many people do you have?" "HM? What do you think?" Gu Xiaoshang laughed. "Ha." The opponent laughed dryly and suddenly shouted, "White stone asking for directions." Gu Fei and Gu Xiaoshang were both startled. What kind of skill was this? They had never heard of it before. Then the 8 thieves, who were standing back to back, each took out a small bag from their pocket and threw it in a few directions. The small bag suddenly opened in the air, and a burst of white dust mixed with gravel flashed out, like a white fog. Following that, a circle of thieves revealed themselves from stealth, their bodies covered in white stains. Gu Xiaoshang's mercenary group, Rainbow Cloud, was a level 4 mercenary group with 80 people. There were only 10 thieves in the group. 2 of the girls were scared when crossing the ravine in the Black Dragon Mountain range and returned home. The one who went to chase after the cloaked figure had not returned yet. At this moment, there were only 7 thieves, and they were all exposed after being thrown by their opponents. "This is the white lime produced in our white stone city. You've never seen it before, right?" the thief said proudly. Then he looked at the encirclement. 7 thieves, including Gu Fei and Gu Xiaoshang, there were only 9 people. They only had 1 more than them, so it was not much of an advantage. He could not help but laugh. "You call this an encirclement?" Gu Xiaoshang had already called for reinforcements from Sword of No Oath. After all, no one had expected the other side to have so many people tailing them. They thought there were only 2 or 3 people at most. Gu Xiaoshang was trying to buy time, and did not really want to fight them. "What do you want?" Gu Xiaoshang wanted to say a few more words. "Don't waste time, let's break out." The thief ignored Gu Xiaoshang and turned to speak to his brothers. As he spoke, he sprinted towards a thief in a certain direction. The others immediately followed behind him and rushed in that direction. Gu Xiaoshang saw that the direction they were rushing towards was the weakest of the 7 thieves. He did not expect that while he was buying time, he would give them time to identify the people in the circle and pick the weakest link. Gu Xiaoshang turned to speak to Gu Fei, but Gu Fei was already gone. When he turned back, he saw that Gu Fei had already flashed in front of the leader of the thieves. The sword in his hand slashed out a ray of fire. The thief did not have any chance and was instantly killed. The remaining 7 were immediately stunned and stopped in their tracks. They could not help but retreat, putting some distance between them and Gu Fei. Gu Fei was also forced into a corner. If he had confirmed the identity of the other party, he could have just watched them break out of the encirclement and escape. However, these fellows refused to say what they were doing. As a responsible mercenary, Gu Fei would definitely not let them go so easily. Dark sword, black robe, instant kill, double flame flash. This was already a symbol. The 7 of them were stunned for a moment before they reacted and exclaimed, "Qianli is drunk." "Huh, you know me?" Gu Fei said. "Amazing video." They muttered, "Now you know how amazing I am. Hurry up and tell us who you are, what you do, where you came from, and what are you trying to do by following us? Tell us." Gu Xiaoshang also came over. The 7 of them looked at each other, but still did not speak. Gu Fei was also in a lot of pain. Suddenly, he had an idea and asked one of them, "What's your name?" "Wild Boar, what kind of stupid name is that?" Gu Xiaoshang could not help but laugh. Gu Fei was not in the mood to laugh. He hurriedly added the other party as a friend. It was hard to say it in person, but it was fine to communicate privately. In the end, the other party did not turn on the friend button. Gu Fei was really helpless and could only continue to enlighten them. "Wild Boar, who are you guys looking for by following us? Or is there something else? If you're looking for someone for personal matters, just tell us the name and we'll call him over. It's not that hard. Is there a need to fight and kill? Right, Xiaoshang?" "Yeah." Gu Xiaoshang nodded. "If that's the case, why can't we talk about it? Even if there's an enemy in our group, we can all sit down and discuss a solution." Gu Fei felt that he had reached the limit of his enlightenment. "Yes, sit down and discuss." Gu Xiaoshang also said. The 7 of them still did not speak. Gu Fei held his forehead and waved his hands. "There's nothing I can do. You guys have to fend for yourselves. Don't say that I didn't help you." With that, Gu Fei retreated to the side to eat an apple. This was a hint. "I can't do it now. If you want to run, do it now." Gu Fei felt that since he had already discovered them, it was equivalent to destroying their tracking. His mission as a mercenary had been accomplished. Letting them go was not considered irresponsible. In the end, they still ignored Gu Fei's hint and stood there stupidly. Gu Fei finished eating the apple and was full of mana. On the other side, Gu Xiaoshang tried to persuade her a few more times. Her cloak was picked up, but she still didn't say a word. "Forget it." Gu Xiaoshang also lost his patience and waved at Gu Fei. "Qianli, do it. Why do you still need me to do it?" Gu Fei said in a daze. "You're so powerful. If you don't do it, who will?" Gu Xiaoshang said. "Actually, with my mana, I can't kill all of them." Gu Fei secretly said to Gu Xiaoshang. "Nonsense, you can kill more than 20 people on the video." Gu Xiaoshang said. "Killing people depends on fate." Gu Fei said. "What nonsense?" Gu Xiaoshang said. "The video specifically picked my good form, and the other side cooperated and played it. They deleted all of my pathetic looks when I didn't have enough mana." Gu Fei said. "That's too much. How could they do this?" Gu Xiaoshang said. "Yeah, that's too irresponsible." Gu Fei said. "Why don't you post an explanation?" Gu Xiaoshang said. "Explain? Explain what?" "Fake videos can't be trusted." "It can't be said to be fake. It's just that they pick the good ones." "That won't do, it's not real." "That's true. Hey. The 2 of you." Finally, Someone interrupted the conversation between the two. The two of them turned around. Are we going to make a move? Gu Xiaoshang asked. Let's do it, everyone attack together. Gu Xiaoshang quickly said and pointed at Gu Fei, including you. Gu Fei took a deep breath and pointed his sword at them. This is your last chance. If you don't say it, we'll make a move. Everyone surrounded him, and the people in the middle were standing so closely together. Gu Fei could kill them all with a big move. This was fate. If we say it, can we really leave? Someone suddenly said, Hey! Someone immediately glared at him. I don't want to drop levels. This person jumped out from the 7 people. Chapter 3:17. Gu Fei and Gu Xiaoshang watched in a daze as the 7 people in front of them fought amongst themselves. The two of them didn't expect something like this to happen. In that instant, the two of them felt like they had forced a girl into prostitution and felt a bit embarrassed. Before he could think of anything to say, the 6 thieves on the other side had already gone berserk. They shouted, You're the first one to lose a level. The 6 of them uniformly surrounded the traitor. 6 daggers were drawn at the same time, and a white light instantly appeared in the center of the circle, telling the world that traitors would not have a good ending. Then, the 6 of them turned around and faced Gu Fei and Gu Xiaoshang. Their eyes didn't have the slightest hint of submission. If you want to kill me, then come at me. Who knows who will die and who will live? Forget it, you guys can leave. Gu Xiaoshang suddenly said. The 6 of them, as well as Gu Fei and Gu Xiaoshang's subordinates, were all startled. What do you mean? Gu Fei asked Gu Xiaoshang. I didn't want to make things difficult for them, I just wanted to scare them. Look, they weren't afraid, so we failed. Gu Xiaoshang said. Oh. Gu Fei shrugged and didn't say anything. Hurry up and leave. If we don't leave now, we won't make it. Gu Xiaoshang said to the 6 of them. The 6 of them were confused. Gu Fei saw their confused expressions and became angry. They were confused when he asked them something, and they were confused when he told them to leave. How could they not be confused? Gu Fei waved his sword and 2 streaks of flames appeared in the air. Hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I'll make a move. The 6 of them continued to turn around in confusion. Gu Xiaoshang waved his hand and the 3 thieves moved to the side. At the same time, the sound of chaotic footsteps came from behind Gu Fei and Gu Xiaoshang. A large group of people was rushing over. Gu Xiaoshang anxiously stomped his feet. Hurry up! The 6 of them finally didn't have any more doubts and ran away. Gu Fei turned his head to look at the large group. The one leading them was Time's Reflection. He had brought a few dozen brothers with him. When he saw the 6 thieves running away, he hurriedly asked, Why did they run away? I told you guys to hurry up, but you guys were so slow. We couldn't stop them and they ran. Gu Xiaoshang said. Aren't there only 8 thieves? You can't even stop him for a while? Time's Reflection was confused. If I didn't stop him, then I didn't stop him. Why do you have so much to say? Gu Xiaoshang was displeased. Women. He was a natural-born actor. Look at how calm Gu Xiaoshang is. Can you think of the reflection of the years she intentionally let him go? Just as Gu Fei was thinking, Time Reflection turned to him. Brother Qianli, it's just 8 thieves. You should be able to stop them, right? Gu Fei was startled, and Gu Xiaoshang also looked at him nervously. Gu Fei raised his eyebrows and said to Time's Reflection, I had a stomachache just now, so I didn't stop him. In a moment of desperation, Gu Fei couldn't think of any fancy reason. It sounded like a lie. Time's Reflection glared at him fiercely. Seeing that the thieves were nowhere to be found, he turned to Gu Xiaoshang and asked, What are they trying to do? Gu Xiaoshang said helplessly, They won't say it even if I beat them to death. There's nothing I can do. Time's Reflection sighed helplessly. Then let's go. Time's Reflection took his brothers and chased after the team as fast as he could. They were all members of Reigning the World, and they would be scared if they didn't stand with the others. They always felt that the whole world was plotting against them and stopping them from completing their mission. At this moment, he was not in the mood to go with Gu Fei and the others, so he rushed to catch up with the main group. After he left, Gu Xiaoshang finally let out a sigh of relief and said to Gu Fei, "Thanks." "For what?" "For your stomachache." "Even though it's a lousy reason," Gu Xiaoshang said. "Lying isn't my strong point," Gu Fei said. "But aren't you very close with them? Why didn't you tell the truth?" "Even if we're close, we have to follow the rules. If they knew that I was the one who let them go, I'd have to deduct the commission. So many brothers are eating with me," Gu Xiaoshang said. They chatted as they chased after the main group. Unfortunately, they had a warrior like Gu Xiaoshang. It was easy to be left behind, but it was a bit difficult to catch up. Fortunately, the sword of the unsworn sword had taken advantage of his position and instructed the entire team to move slower, all for the sake of taking care of the girl he fancied. Gu Fei and the others were finally able to see the main group getting closer and closer. At this time, Time's reflection had already returned to the team. Unsworn Sword greeted him and asked, "How was it?" Silver Moon stood quietly to the side, but she was actually more anxious than anyone else. "They ran away," Time's reflection said. "When I arrived, they were already gone." "Impossible, weren't there only 8 thieves? With Qianli drunk, there's no way they could have run away," Silver Moon said in shock. "He said his stomach hurts?" Time's reflection said helplessly. "Do you believe him?" Silver Moon looked at everyone. Everyone shook their heads. This kind of lie was the most infuriating. They knew it was fake, but there was nothing they could do about it. Why did Qianli drunk let them go? "There must be more to it than meets the eye," Silver Moon said. Silver Moon said, but in his heart he was already certain that this group of people was most likely looking for him. Perhaps 1,000 Miles Drunk had already sold his position just now. Could it be that there were already sharpshooters lying in ambush in the surroundings, waiting to snipe him countless times? "When Xiaoshang comes back, you can ask her," Time's reflection said to Unsworn Sword. "I'll ask her now." Unsworn Sword sent a message to Gu Xiaoshang. On the other side, Silver Moon had already subconsciously shrunk his head, trying his best to squeeze himself between the crowd. At that moment, he wished that the 3 spirit imprisoning shields in his party could protect him. Unfortunately, the 3 of them had been seconded by reigning 4 Cs and were responsible for surrounding the criminal, Todd. Unsworn Sword and the others were also afraid that some super sniper would be able to snipe them from 800 meters away. In the end, Silver Moon could only feel insecure. While Unsworn Sword was communicating with Gu Xiaoshang, Silver Moon was constantly thinking in his mind, should I run or not? If I run, where should I run to? At this time, Unsworn Sword was already announcing. Xiaoshang said that Qianli drunk is fine, but he did have a stomachache just now. He's faking it, he's definitely faking it, Silver Moon said. Unsworn Sword didn't comment. He didn't want to suspect the girl he liked. Gu Xiaoshang, who had just finished the call, snapped his fingers at Gu Fei. "Hee, they're suspecting you. I told you that your reason was too lousy. But I'm your witness now, so thank me." "Miss, I'm carrying this stain for you, right?" Gu Fei said. "Don't be so serious. You'll get a share of the commission later," Gu Xiaoshang said. "Are your brothers okay with this?" Gu Fei looked at the other thieves. "Any objections?" Gu Xiaoshang turned around. "Oh no." The others hurriedly replied. Their attitude shocked Gu Fei. He had seen all kinds of people in the game, but Gu Xiaoshang was the first guild leader he had ever seen with such an imposing aura. The others, such as Sword Without Oath, Against the Current, Twilight in the Cloud and Silver Moon, had never acted so condescendingly in front of their own guild members. As for the rest of the group, Unsworn Sword clearly didn't want to pursue the matter any further. This left Silver Moon at a loss. There was no way a few thieves could escape from Qianli drunk. Silver Moon was certain of this. Stomachache? That was complete nonsense. This guy was purposely going easy on them, so they naturally knew each other. It seemed like they were undoubtedly in Cloud Twilight's group. They had already met face to face. Now that his location had been exposed, there was no telling if a large group of assassins would come for him. "I have to run. I have to run." Silver Moon had already made up his mind. This large group could be used as a cover. If someone disappeared without a trace, no one would notice. This was a backup plan that he had already thought of. As for what to do next, let's wait until we're out of danger first. Silvermoon made up his mind. He began to pay attention to the surrounding terrain and the movements of the players around him. The group in front was just about to go around a thicket. Everyone was focused on moving forward. An opportunity. Silvermoon's footsteps were slow and orderly. As he neared the thicket, he casually walked out from the group. Then, he casually stood under a large tree that he had already observed and pretended to rummage through it. This was a very common action. Players who learned trade skills would often pick up herbs and stuff them into their bags. Since it wouldn't delay their journey, no one asked. Silvermoon's heart was beating wildly. The footsteps of the players behind him felt like they were trampling over his heart. He lowered his head and quietly looked around. Good, no one was paying attention to him. Silvermoon quickly turned around and hid behind the tree. The tree was enough to block anyone's sight. Silvermoon was very satisfied with his choice. His act of hiding behind the tree didn't attract any attention, which made him feel even more at ease. What he needed to do now was to quietly wait for the group to pass by. Then he would slip away. Where should he go next? He had to think about this question carefully. As Silvermoon pondered, the tail of the group gradually passed by him. Anyway, let's leave this place first. Silvermoon moved his body away from the tree. He looked at the path behind the tree and turned to walk into the thicket. But after taking 2 steps, he suddenly received a heavy blow to the back of his head. Silvermoon couldn't move or speak. He could only scream in his heart, "It's over." Sapping blow. Who is it? Silvermoon still had this question, but he didn't get an answer. Several attacks came from behind and killed him on the spot. At the same time, Cloud Twilight, who was outside the White Stone Knight camp, received a message. The person has been sent back. Have fun killing. How much do you think is worth? Send it to me. Chapter 318. At this time, Cloud Twilight was personally sneaking into the Knight's camp in Baishur City. He wanted to be the first cannon to kill Silvermoon. At the same time he received the news, a white light flashed in the Knight's camp. Who else could it be other than Silvermoon? Silvermoon didn't know what to think, but his actions and expression didn't seem to have lost his cool. The moment he revived in the Knight's camp, he began to warily look around. When Yun Zhongmu saw this, he knew that it was a big deal. He was right in front of them, but it wouldn't be that easy to kill him. If they wanted to kill him until he reached level 10, it would be a long and drawn-out battle that would consume a lot of manpower and energy. Cloud Twilight suddenly felt a bit regretful. Did they really have to delay the lives of so many people for this guy? At the same time, Gu Fei looked at Slender Waist Dance in surprise. How come you're here too? Gu Fei used almost the same method as Silvermoon to get behind the tree, but one was in the forest and the other was outside. At that time, Silvermoon never would have dreamed that the person he was most afraid of, Gu Fei, was just a tree away from him. When Silvermoon was hit by Sword Demon's sap, Gu Fei teleported behind him and gave him a fierce blow. At the same time, another person also stabbed out. It was Slender Waist Dance. Only my stealth speed can keep up with the team. Slender Waist Dance said. So you've been keeping an eye on him near Silvermoon? Gu Fei asked. Sword Demon said helplessly, there's no way around it. I'm not fast enough. Silvermoon snuck away from the team and pretended to dig for grass under the tree, hiding behind a tree when no one was paying attention. How could he know that there was a thief right next to him, staring at him? This also had to do with Sword of No Oath. In order to wait for Gu Xiaoshang, he slowed down the team's speed, and Slender Waist Dance became more and more proficient in stealth. The 3 of them left the forest and quickly caught up to the team. The child elite group members were at the end of the team, so they naturally knew that the 3 of them had completed their mission. The Slender Dancer reached out to the Han family young master and said, let's settle the bill. As a result, the Han family young master waved his hand away. I haven't received the money yet. I'll settle it for you when we get to Shady Forest City. Slender Waist Dance didn't bother him and went to look for the reborn Amethyst girls. The Han family young master announced to Gu Fei and the Sword Demon, Silver Moon has died and returned to the White Stone City Night Battalion. Yun Zhongmu has seen him. The mission had been successfully completed. Clap. Everyone rolled their eyes. Keep score. Han family young master said to Sword Demon. Sword Demon took out the Child Elite Group scorebook and recorded everyone's score in this mission. Yutian Shunming and Unscathed in Battle were both a bit indignant. It was clear that the two of them didn't participate much in this mission and only received the lowest level of friendship points. Gu Fei looked at the Sword Demon's record and couldn't help but have an opinion. Hey, Yutian and Wushang only got 10 points, which is very reasonable. Sword Demon and I personally completed the mission, so how come our score isn't as high as yours? 30 points for a setup? What kind of setup is this? Do you think we just foolishly waited for Silver Moon to leave and then took the opportunity to give him a beating? Han family young master said. Isn't that the case? Does Silver Moon not need a reason to leave? Does Silver Moon's reason for leaving have anything to do with you? Isn't it because he's afraid that the stealthy guys behind him are targeting him? Gu Fei said. That's right. What does that have to do with you? I was the one who found those guys. Han family young master said. Gu Fei was startled. He looked at the other four and saw that they clearly knew about this situation, so they just looked at Gu Fei with a sympathetic gaze. How come I didn't know? Gu Fei mumbled. Han family young master was too lazy to pay attention to him. Brother, you patted Gu Fei. Everyone had a meeting during the day to discuss this, but you weren't there. After saying this, he turned to Sword Demon. Qianli didn't come to the meeting. Should we deduct 5 or 10 points? Logically speaking, we should deduct points, but he wasn't online at that time. This Sword Demon hesitated. That still counts. Deduct 10 points. Han family young master announced. Deduct 10 points. Deduct 10 points. Yutian Shunming and Unscathed in Battle immediately joined in. Whether or not being offline counted as an absence was always a matter of debate, just like offside on a football field. However, with so many people supporting him, and Gu Fei himself didn't seem to have any objections, Sword Ghost happily deducted 10 points from his score. Gu Fei was still thinking about the so-called setup. Since you found them, why didn't you say anything when you knew I was going to stop them? What if I kill them all? Before you left, didn't I tell you to go easy on them if they were targeting Silver Moon? Han family young master said. How would I know if they were targeting Silver Moon? You can ask them. I did, but they wouldn't say no matter what. One of them wanted to say was killed by their own people. Gu Fei said. Han family young master was stunned. In the end, he said to the others with a pained expression, How sad. How sad. Look at the quality of the mercenaries, and then look at you guys. Each one of you says you're an expert, and each one of you forgets friendship and goes back on your word. Don't you feel ashamed? This person is crazy. Everyone looked at Han family young master with disdain. In the end, it was Brother Yu who patiently explained to Gu Fei the composition of this plan. Because Silver Moon knew that Yun Zhongmu and another group of people were coming to kill him, he would definitely be suspicious along the way. Thus, Han family young master randomly found a mercenary group in White Stone City and had them send some thieves to secretly follow the group at night. Originally, Han family young master wanted to use Gu Fei's anti-stealth to inform Reflection Years that someone was secretly following them and make Silver Moon suspicious. In the end, he didn't expect that they would somehow discover the people following them first. When dealing with an unknown stealth, Han family young master expected that they would find Gu Fei. He didn't expect that these guys would have such a deep grudge against Gu Fei that they didn't even look for Gu Fei, who had anti-stealth, and instead went to find Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's trap group. However, Han family young master was also prepared for this kind of situation. As long as he reminded these guys he found, then no ambush would work. In the end, Sword Without Oath and the others would still have to find Gu Fei. In the end, things went smoother than he expected. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka had a stomachache as soon as he saw Silver Moon. Gu Fei's appearance and the people's sword without oath and the others trusted were very much in line with what Han family young master wanted. On the contrary, the professionalism of these guys he found exceeded Han family young master's expectations. At this time, listening to Gu Fei's words made his heart palpitate. These guys actually refused to say anything even if they were beaten to death. Of course, they would die, especially if they died at the hands of Gu Fei. Not only would this not make Silvermoon so nervous that he would run away, but it would also give him a sense of security. Fortunately, in the end, they still walked in the direction that Han family young master expected. The stalkers were very obviously let go. Silvermoon became very suspicious and did not dare to stay in this team anymore. Once again, he abandoned his brothers and prepared to run away. This forced Silvermoon to run away to achieve two goals. First of all, he once again shook off his brothers, falling into Cloud Zhongmu's tiger's den alone, basically unable to obtain any outside help. He was also forced to do this. If he wanted to escape, he could not bring his group of brothers with him. For example, the 3 heavy-armored soldiers protecting Todd were probably the 3 most trusted and valued brothers of Silvermoon's mercenary group. However, if the 3 of them wanted to leave, reigning the 4 seas would immediately know, and it would not be able to achieve the effect of stealth. Second, Child Elite Group and the others needed to secretly deal with Silvermoon. They could not even let Silvermoon know who did it. After all, this was a game. Killing someone did not mean silencing them. Even if Silvermoon died, he could still tell Unsworn Sword that they were killed by Child Elite Group, so he could not leave any evidence behind. After all, this was a more important matter. If Gu Fei used the excuse of stepping on my foot to kill someone, Unsworn Sword would definitely not turn a blind eye. Silvermoon's death was quite meaningful. The killer would not be affected in any way, and any help that Silvermoon might have received would be destroyed. He could not even ask for help from reigning the 4 seas because he could not explain why he left quietly. This was because he wanted to use the few hundred people of reigning the 4 seas to resist the 4,000 people of the 10 Guilds Alliance, and then use the opportunity to escape. Next, it would be a battle of patience between Yun Zhongmu and Silvermoon. This was clearly not within the scope of Han family young master's concern. They followed the team and continued to move forward. At the same time, they sent a congratulatory message to Yun Zhongmu, waiting for the good news of you killing someone. In the end, at 22:37 at night, an hour had passed since they had killed Silvermoon and sent her back. Cloud Twilight only sent a message with a frown on his face. That bitch, he only sat in the resurrection point for an hour. Fuck him, his grandson knows that we're definitely going to stop him, so he's going to waste time with us. You guys have more people, so don't be afraid. Take your time. Good luck. Child Elite Group collectively called back to express their condolences. At this time, the advance of Cloud City's team also came to a halt. At this time, there was a boundless forest in front of them. Unsworn Sword took out the map given by the system and studied it repeatedly. Finally, he announced, "Forest Shade City is in this forest." No way? There's no road? Everyone was confused. There should be. I've never heard that there's no road here. After Unsworn Sword and the others arrived at White Stone City, they received a notification that the next step was to go to Forest Shade City. Of course, they also learned about Forest Shade City immediately. It was a fact that the city was surrounded by the forest, but they did not hear that there was not even a road leading from the forest to the main city. Remember the Black Dragon Mountain Range? Reflected Years said. There were originally no ditches there, but because of our mission, there were so many ditches on the road. You mean, there was originally a road here, but because of our mission, the road is temporarily gone. Yeah. Fuck, the system only knows how to do these things to waste time. Everyone enter the forest. Fuck, there are coordinates, are you afraid of getting lost? Unsworn Sword ordered. In fact, they had no choice but to enter. If they did not find Forest Shade City, would they have to spend more than 3 hours walking back to White Stone City and offline? Chapter 319. The Cloud City players rearranged their formation and stepped into the forest. Unsworn Sword continued to walk at the front, holding the guide map given by the quest, counting the coordinates as he moved forward. However, after a few steps, he was stunned. He looked at the current coordinates, then looked at the Forest Shade City's coordinates on the map. Unsworn Sword hurriedly ran out of the forest, looked at the current coordinates, ran back in, looked at the coordinates again, and finally said in surprise, "This forest is a Type 2 map." The players who heard the news were stunned, and immediately began to pay attention to the coordinates. After Unsworn Sword ran back and forth in the forest, the news of a Type 2 map instantly spread among the players. Type 2 map. Gu Fei was unfamiliar with this new term. It's a map with its own independent coordinates. Brother Yu explained, but felt that it was not clear enough, so he simply gave an example. For example, a cave or a house is a Type 2 map with its own coordinates. Will the coordinates change in a house? Gu Fei was absolutely sure of this, because in his career as a wanted person, countless PK criminals were caught in houses. Gu Fei could be sure that there were no special coordinates in a house. The smaller rooms continue to use the coordinates on the big map, just simply marked. For example, R100,100, that means it's in the room. If it's 100,100, that means it's on the roof. Didn't you notice? Brother Yu said. Oh. Gu Fei immediately understood. But the forest is actually a Type 2 map. What kind of design is this? Brother Yu muttered. In fact, Type 2 maps were not scary, but it was a measure to make it easier for the players to identify the map coordinates. But the problem was that the Forest Shade City in Unsworn Swordsman's guidance map was marked with the coordinates of a Type 1 map, which was what players usually called a Terra map. But the moment they entered the forest, the coordinates were shown with the coordinates of a Type 2 map. Everyone suspected that the system was deliberately making things difficult for them. Some quests didn't have any combat or intelligence difficulty, but because of the long journey or the long and tedious steps, players would waste a lot of time. This was a common trick in online games. Obviously, at this time, the Cloud City players attributed the current situation to this. Everyone was complaining, and some even suspected that the forest was temporarily changed to a second-tier map because of this mission, just like the mountain road in the Black Dragon Mountain range. Stop arguing, everyone! At this time, everyone had retreated back to the outside of the forest, cursing and swearing. Unsworn Sword had no choice but to stand out and take charge of the situation. Shouting was only effective to the dozens of people in front of him. However, these dozens of people turned around and shouted to the people behind them. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100, and in an instant, it became a well-known piece of information. The edge of the forest quietened down. Everyone already knows what the situation is now. Let me ask, is there any friend in Forest Shade City? Unsworn Sword shouted. If he wanted to save time, he obviously needed a guide. The players whispered among themselves, but no one answered. The only comment that was slightly closer was, "Oh, there used to be, but they left later." This surprised Unsworn Sword. He did not expect that among the thousands of players, none of them had friends in Forest Shade City. Is there anyone? Is there anyone? There will be a great reward. Unsworn Sword did not give up. He originally wanted to play the friendship card, but now it became a reward. As the saying goes, there will be brave men under a great reward. At this time, Unsworn Sword did not ask for brave men. He only wanted a local. As a result, at a glance, he saw a pile of shaking heads. Unsworn Sword looked at Wind's star and reflection of time in a daze. The two obviously did not expect such a situation. In this case, Unsworn Sword continued, we can only rely on ourselves to find it. Does everyone want to go in and look for it now, or go back to White Stone City to rest first and ask around? Look for it now. Everyone shouted. This was nonsense. It would take more than 3 hours to go back to White Stone City, and it would take more than 3 hours to come back tomorrow. People who were not sick would choose to go back first and come back tomorrow. That's good. Let's first lock the coordinates of Forest Shade City outside the forest, then go in a straight line. We will definitely find it. Unsworn Sword finished speaking and locked the coordinates of Forest Shade City outside the forest. Therefore, as long as they could go in a straight line, they would definitely reach Forest Shade City. Everyone was quite confident about this. After all, they were looking for such a large main city. The coordinates alone occupied n number of areas. With such a large target, even if they went a little astray in the forest, they would definitely be found. Once they thought of this, everyone stopped their previous condemnation of the forest map and valiantly entered the forest again. The rare forest with a second map was indeed extraordinary. The trees were strong and lush, and from the edge of the forest to the depths of the forest, it was equally prosperous. The team was still in the front, the mercenary group was at the back, and the child elite group was at the tail end. The reborn amethyst girls were not far from them, and Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's big hunter mercenary group was naturally not far from the girls. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka walked at this time and said to the vast forest beside him, "This place is very convenient to put a trap. There's no need to dig a hole. Just sweep the leaves and throw them, then cover them with the leaves. There won't be any flaws." As soon as he said this, someone at the front of the team screamed. In the quiet forest, this scream was so vivid. When everyone exclaimed what happened, a report came from the front. Someone stepped into a trap. Everyone's heart palpitated. One after another, they checked their feet and dug out a very deep question. Did someone accidentally step on a trap and forget to take it back? Or did someone deliberately set it up? There was no answer for the time being. At the front, Sword of No Oath had already called for the so-called #1 trap technician in Cloud City, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka, to come to the rescue. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka quickly went to the front line. "Have you started the countdown?" The first question Tsubasa Sakuratsuka asked when he arrived showed that he was an expert, and these people present were all laymen. No one thought that the countdown would start the countdown the moment they fell into the trap. Everyone was ashamed. "Let's start the countdown now," Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said to the others. He picked up a wooden stick from the ground and brushed away the leaves on the guy's feet. The leaves on the ground in the forest were very thick. Sometimes, a single step would leave a hole, which was why Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said that this place was suitable for traps. A shiny trap clamp was stuck on the guy's feet. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka looked left and right. The others also held their breath, waiting for him to come to an earth-shattering conclusion. "It's a hunting trap," Tsubasa Sakuratsuka announced. "Fuck," everyone replied. So far, this was the only type of trap the lurkers knew. If it wasn't this, what else could it be? "But I've never seen one like this before," Tsubasa Sakuratsuka continued. "What do you mean?" Sword of No Oath asked from the side. "It's quite exquisite. It should be a trap of a higher level," Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said as he raised his head to ask the player who was caught. "Is there any damage? Just that it can't move?" The player nodded. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka mumbled, "Even if the level is high, it doesn't add any damage. Then there's not much point in leveling up." The player's face darkened. It seemed like Tsubasa Sakuratsuka was using him as a guinea pig for scientific research. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's gaze turned elsewhere. Everyone's eyes followed him. "Don't stop the timer," Tsubasa Sakuratsuka shouted. Everyone hurriedly looked at the guy's right foot. His right foot with the trap clamp was being stared at by everyone, and he felt very uncomfortable. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka used a wooden stick to poke at the ground. Not long after, he exerted some force with the other end of the stick, and another trap appeared. "There's more." Sword of No Oath walked over and frowned. "Time," Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said to him. "It's a trap." Sword of No Oath indicated that even though he had come over, the others were still watching his foot. "Maybe there's more." Tsubasa Sakuratsuka tossed the trap down, and the stick poked somewhere else. Everyone followed his footsteps. Suddenly, there was another "Aya" from behind them. Everyone jumped up in fright. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka was also surprised. He turned around and angrily said, "Are you stupid? Didn't you see that I tossed that trap over there? You're still stepping over there." Didn't we already dismantle the trap? The player was depressed. Do we have the skill to dismantle traps now, bro? Tsubasa Sakuratsuka asked in return. The player could only feel ashamed of his lack of knowledge. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka continued to ask, "Did you start the timer this time?" Everyone was startled. They immediately reacted and felt ashamed again. Manners. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka criticized. The group of people swallowed their anger. There was nothing they could do. There weren't many trap players to begin with, and there were even fewer skilled ones. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka was known as the #1 trap technician in Cloud City, but no one knew who was #2. It felt like no one could compete with him for the #1 position. The other high-level archers had all changed classes to marksmen. Sakurazuka Tsuzum poked, and in a short while, he picked out another trap. His gaze became deep. It can't be such a coincidence that all three of them forgot about the traps here. This was purposely set up. Perhaps it was targeted at us. Who is it? Is it a player or an NPC? Reflection of Years asked. I'm done. The first person who fell into the trap had already escaped. 1 minute and 1 second. Without waiting for Tsubasa Sakuratsuka to ask, the timer had already reported the time. Including the time I forgot before, it's at least 1 minute and 10 seconds. Quite impressive. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka exclaimed. Also, it should be a player. If it was an NPC, wouldn't it have shown up already? Tsubasa Sakuratsuka looked around. Chapter 320. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka continued to pick through the fallen leaves as he said to Unsworn Sword. If it's an expert, the traps wouldn't be so simple. The ones hidden under the leaves might just be to attract our attention. Perhaps there's an even more powerful trap hidden deeper in the ground. An even more powerful trap? What is that? Unsworn Sword asked anxiously. A hunting trap that lasts longer, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka replied. Unsworn Sword really wanted to slap this guy to death. Everyone watch your step. Unsworn Sword turned around to remind everyone. However, this didn't need to be said. Ever since the first person stepped into the trap and screamed, everyone had long since started paying attention to their feet. Can we still move forward? Unsworn Sword asked Tsubasa Sakuratsuka. The trap itself isn't harmful, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka replied. Sakura Tsutomo replied, its purpose is to restrict movement. As you can see, it can last for more than a minute. After that, the ranged classes will attack. This is currently the main strategy used in conjunction with traps. If we recklessly move forward without understanding the situation, no matter how many people there are, we will only be eaten away. Can't we find all the traps? Unsworn Sword looked at the wooden stick in Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's hand. In theory. But don't forget, traps are dead, but people are alive. A true trap expert won't just lay down traps and wait for the rabbit to come. When you step into a trap, the trap will be restricting you. When you don't, it will be a kind of restraint. While you're bitterly searching for the trap, you've already fallen into their trap. They naturally have a way to deal with it. I know. Unsworn Sword took a deep breath. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka was really too long-winded. Even if he didn't really understand traps, he was still able to understand the principles behind them. That's why I said that the key isn't how many traps there are, but how many people are controlling them. How many people are waiting for us to step out of their trap. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's voice became deeper as he spoke. After he finished speaking, he looked around with a profound gaze. There was only a slight rustling of leaves in the forest. Coupled with Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's tone, everyone couldn't help but feel a chill. They looked around, searching for the profound question of how many people there were. Let's stop advancing for now. Call the guild leaders over and discuss our countermeasures, Unsworn Sword announced. At this moment, at the end of the line, all the players were waiting for news from the front, chatting in 2s and 3s. Suddenly, Gu Fei turned around and shouted, "Someone's here." Who is it? It wasn't just the child elite group. Gu Fei's voice had also been heard by Unsworn Sword, who was at the forefront of the Dalian team. Gu Fei looked at the forest behind them warily. Someone was there just now. Is it a person or an NPC? Brother, you said, it's a person. An NPC wouldn't have a murderous aura, Gu Fei said. Murderous aura? Everyone looked at Gu Fei with a strange expression. I'll go take a look. Gu Fei pulled out his sword and carefully walked in the direction of the murderous aura. The feeling just now was fleeting. Based on his experience, the other party should have noticed Gu Fei in that instant. Gu Fei couldn't point out the specific direction, but he was sure that there was someone there. I'll go with you. Sword Demon also pulled out his dagger and entered stealth. He followed beside Gu Fei and carefully walked in that direction. Behind them, everyone was watching. Not long after, Unsworn Sword and the others, who were at the front of the line, came over and asked, "What's going on?" A player pointed at Gu Fei's figure in the forest. He said there's someone behind him. Is it a player or an NPC? Reflection of Years asked. Everyone's expression was strange. The Han clan's young master sighed and said, "Damn it, can't the question be more creative?" Reflection of Years' expression was unhappy. Han family young master hurriedly smiled at him. "Sorry, I'm not targeting you." Reflection of Years' expression softened, but Han family young master added, "It's targeting everyone, including you." Everyone, including Reflection of Years, was so angry that their noses were crooked. "Be careful!" Gu Fei, who was searching, suddenly shouted. Then everyone saw Gu Fei's body lean back and quickly jump. At the same time, the dark streak sword in his right hand slashed down. With a ding, there seemed to be a flash of light at Gu Fei's feet. Then they saw Gu Fei land steadily and say in a low voice, "There's a trap." Tsubasa Sakuratsuka hurriedly ran over and saw that there was an activated trap at Gu Fei's feet. It was even more exquisite than what they had seen at the front of the line. There was even a faint flash of metal. Under normal circumstances, two teeth that would normally clamp a person's feet were tightly clenched together, making people shudder. Sword Demon, who was on the side, came out of stealth. Gu Fei's "be careful" was of course for him to hear. At this time, Gu Fei also had lingering fears. This trap is really sick. It can even chase and bounce. But it was obvious that everyone looked at Gu Fei as if they were looking at a sick person. Just now, it was clear that Gu Fei had stepped into the trap and immediately retracted his feet to dodge it. However, this trap could actually jump from the ground and chase after him for a short period of time. So, Gu Fei's long sword instantly slashed down and cut down the trap that had jumped up. It was obvious who was the sick one here. "Brother Zhe, you're too ridiculous. You can even dodge that." Even Tsubasa Sakuratsuka was not in the mood to study his favorite trap for a moment. Gu Fei didn't answer him. He continued to look into the depths of the forest and said, "I'm afraid there are more." At this time, Unsworn Sword and the others had already come over. The first thing Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said was, "Have you started the timer?" "What timer?" "Duh, the trap time." Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said. "Didn't you miss?" "Even if you missed, you still activated it. Once activated, the trap will only disappear after the time limit is up. You can still use the timer. You guys should really study up on your trap knowledge." Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's face was full of resentment. The guild leader of Reigning the Four Seas, Unsworn Sword, was speechless. However, he also noticed a problem. This time, everyone had clearly arrived at the same time and saw the trap being activated. Why did this brat still blame them when he didn't know the timer? Wasn't he just using it as a pretext? How despicable! Unsworn Sword thought to himself. This trap is even stronger than the one before. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said, and according to Brother Zue, it can even bounce up. This should be the effect of the higher the mastery of the skill. This means that its bounce is even more terrifying. What about your trap? What's the speed of your trap? Unsworn Sword suddenly asked. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka smiled bitterly. Mine isn't even as good as the one before. I dropped a level when I was level 40. Below level 40, a player would learn a new skill every 6 levels. For example, level 12, level 18, and so on. With the addition of level 40, these levels were known as skill levels. Normally, when a player died and dropped a level, the most terrifying thing was to drop below the skill level. This was because skills below the skill level would disappear. When a player reached the skill level, they would have to learn the skill again and practice it again. Dropping skill level was a more terrifying threat to the players than dropping a level. It seems that we've been surrounded. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka crouched down and looked at the trap for a while, then stood up and said, "This was a conclusion that anyone with a brain would have already reached. The place that Gu Fei had gone to was the place that the 1,000 of them had just walked past. It was obvious that the trap had only been placed after they had walked past it. Perhaps the moment that Gu Fei noticed it, it was also the moment that the other party had secretly placed the trap and left. There was no doubt that this trap was definitely targeted at them. Is it a player or an NPC? Is it a player or an NPC?" Reflection of Years was still struggling with this question. "It's a player." Gu Fei answered him with certainty. "How do you know?" Someone had told him, but he still needed more accurate evidence, especially when the person who spoke was Gu Fei. Gu Fei shrugged. "I saw it. It was better not to mention the murderous aura. If he said too much, these players would act like the students in his school and treat Gu Fei, who claimed to know martial arts, as a problem. Saw it? You can tell at a glance whether it's a player or an NPC. There are so many NPCs in the city, which one of them looks any different from a player. Hey, where are you going? I'm not done yet." While Reflection of Years was talking, Gu Fei teleported and disappeared. "What do we do?" The 3 core members of Reigning the 4 Seas gathered together again, along with the leaders of the various mercenary groups. The ones that were sent to search around have also found the trap. We are now surrounded by a large trap formation. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka explained the situation. His mercenary group had always been in charge of the trap exploration work. Sworn Sword was very pleased that they had hired this mercenary group that was widely known to be very wretched. It was finally of great use. "Can't we get rid of all the traps?" someone asked. Sworn Sword stopped Tsubasa Sakuratsuka in time and started his long trap theory. But the person who asked this question wanted to get to the bottom of it, so Tsubasa Sakuratsuka went on with another long speech. Sword of No Oath forced himself to hold back. His eyes swept across the crowd, wanting to say a few words to emphasize the seriousness of the current situation. But after looking around, he suddenly had a little doubt. After looking around again, he could confirm his doubt. He looked at Reflection of Years and asked, "Where's Silvermoon?" This was a meeting between the core members of Reigning the 4 Seas and the mercenary group leaders. All the leaders had arrived, but Silvermoon was nowhere to be seen. Reflection of Years had only called out to the group leader once, and it was only now that he realized that someone had not arrived. He had to admit that Silvermoon's concealment of his existence was quite successful. Only at this special moment did people realize that he had been gone for a long time. "Where is he?" Sworn Sword muttered, preparing to privately contact Silvermoon. "He left," someone suddenly said. Chapter 321. The person who spoke was the most taciturn among the mercenary group leaders, but everyone was looking forward to interacting with her. The leader of Amethyst Mercenary Group, Luoluo. The leader of Amethyst Mercenary Group was July. Usually, the leader of the mercenary group would be the leader of the mercenary group. However, there were exceptions. For example, the leader of 4 Seas Mercenary Group was Reflection of Years. Amethyst Mercenary Group was also an exception. Luoluo was the leader of the mercenary group. There were only 2 girls in the leadership class. One was Luoluo, and the other was Gu Xiaosheng. However, Luoluo was obviously more sophisticated than Gu Xiaosheng because her mercenary group was made up of girls. If a player wanted to build an immortal harem in the game, it would be very valuable to have a good relationship with the leader of a group of girls. It was a pity that Luoluo was very quiet during the meetings. She listened quietly to everyone's words, and no one could find a chance to build a relationship with her. This was because Luoluo was very clear that there was only one reason for their mercenary group to be invited: Slender Waist Dance. If it wasn't for this strong person, their mercenary group's strength was basically at the lower end of Cloud City. The only special thing about them was that they were all girls. However, if this was also a reason for being invited, then they basically had the dirty thoughts of comfort women. According to Lualua's intentions, slender waist dance could be called to this kind of commander's meeting. Unfortunately, every time slender waist dance was called for a meeting, no one knew where she was playing. This girl was too casual. At this moment, when it came to the problem of Silver Moon's disappearance, Luo suddenly threw out her first sentence in the meeting. "Oh!" Unsworn Sword did not dare to be negligent. He quickly asked, "Where did he go?" "I don't know." Luo shook her head. "We saw him running under the tree to dig the grass, and then when no one was looking, he hid behind the tree. After that, we didn't see him come back." "What was he doing?" Unsworn Sword was confused. "I don't know. Didn't you guys ask him to do something?" Luo asked. Unsworn Sword was very puzzled. He grumbled, "Why didn't you tell me you were leaving?" But he still sent a message to Silver Moon in dissatisfaction. While everyone was confused, the Han family young master was smiling gently. Luo also sent him a message, "Is that all?" "That's enough," Han family young master replied. "What's next?" Luo asked. "Next, if no one takes the initiative to hypothesize, I'll have to do it myself." As soon as the Han family young master sent this message back, a mercenary group leader jumped out. Could it be that Silver Moon is behind all this? Silver Moon said that he died in White Stone City. Unsworn Sword frowned. It had been a long time since Silver Moon had died. While he was sitting in meditation with Cloud Twilight and the others, he had already come up with a script for how to deal with the brothers he had abandoned and how to use them to dominate the world. He was preparing to write a heroic legend of not wanting to drag his brothers and friends down with him because of his personal grudge. Only in this way could his lonely situation turn for the better, and he could get out of his predicament. To do this, he couldn't take the initiative. He had made a sacrifice for his brothers, but the next second he informed everyone about it. No matter how you looked at it, he was just playing to the gallery. Therefore he had to wait. When they realized that he was missing and anxiously came to ask, he would say a few simple words to make his image look good. Therefore, during this period of time, Silver Moon had been thinking about how to make his image look good without revealing any flaws. At the same time, he was also anxious. Damn it, why hasn't anyone noticed that I'm missing? At this time, someone finally noticed, but it was not the right time. The more chaotic the situation, the more opportunities there would be. Unfortunately, Silver Moon didn't know the situation here at all, but the Han family young master saw everything. Therefore, a very malicious plan to smear his name was formed. Silver Moon quietly left, and he came up with a beautiful explanation. And the Han family young master, combined with the current situation, also gave him an explanation. What was worse was that until now, the Han family young master hadn't said a word. He just made full use of all the resources that had happened, so someone was naturally led to say what he wanted to say. Silver Moon's quiet departure had something to do with the current situation. Silver Moon's plan was to retreat in order to advance, but the problem was that he had retreated, but no one followed him. After he very casually said to Unsworn Sword, "Sorry, I'm dead," Unsworn Sword didn't reply to him. Silver Moon was really anxious. Why didn't this Unsworn Sword ask, "Why did I die?" Of course, he didn't know that at this time, whether he died or not was not within the scope of Unsworn Sword's concern. He was also thinking about the relationship between Silver Moon's departure and the current predicament. There was also a dispute between the group leaders present. The positive side thought that Silver Moon must have something to do with this, while the negative side thought that he should have nothing to do with it. The reason was that Silver Moon's brothers in his mercenary group were still there. Abandoning his brothers and running away, it's not the first time, someone said coldly. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka. The Han family young master was really very satisfied. He didn't need to say anything. "How did you know?" someone asked Tsubasa Sakuratsuka. Everyone present didn't have a deep relationship with Silver Moon, so when someone asked about his past misdeeds, he would use the same excuse he gave in the dungeon, which made everyone sigh and sympathize with him. How would I know? Tsubasa Sakaratsuka sneered. Didn't you ask around when you passed by Moonlit Night City? Who doesn't know about that place? Everyone was stunned. They didn't have a special relationship with Silver Moon, so who would specifically ask about Silver Moon when passing by Moonlit Night City? Therefore, Tsubasa Sakaratsuka added oil and vinegar to his story. With his wretchedness, the amount of oil and vinegar he added was quite high. Silver Moon was practically the world's most evil person since ancient times, and the most disgusting part of his story was that he abandoned his wife and smeared the dirt on her. Gu Xiaoshang was the first to jump up. Without Silver Moon, he had nowhere to vent his anger, so he could only point the spearhead at Unsworn Sword. Fuck, why did you find such trash? Are all the people in Cloud City dead? Why did you have to find such a person? I didn't know before. Unsworn Sword smiled bitterly. Poor Silver Moon was still sitting alone in the knight's camp in Baishur City, waiting for Unsworn Sword to ask about his death. The Han family young master finally opened his mouth at this time. It's not certain whether Silver Moon was involved in this or not. Maybe he just felt danger and wanted to escape, but was stopped and killed. This was what it meant to advance by retreating. This kind of crime didn't seem as serious as Silver Moon's ambush, but the problem was that this wasn't Silver Moon's doing, and it wasn't within the Han family young master's control. He couldn't bear the responsibility of framing Silver Moon. Therefore, he took a step back and pointed out that Silver Moon was just afraid of death and wanted to escape. Although this crime wasn't serious, it was very real. Silver Moon's character had been portrayed to the extreme, and the Han family young master's goal had finally been achieved. Even if he succeeded in framing Silver Moon for the ambush, it would only help Silver Moon make more enemies. This wasn't necessary, because Yun Zhongmu and his group were enough to deal with him. But now, by using this as a pretext, Silver Moon's character was exposed to everyone at a very suitable time. When everyone calmed down and thought about it, they realized that in the end, there was only one topic about Silver Moon. He was trash and nothing else. And this was what the Han family young master needed. At this point, all of Silver Moon's hopes had been cut off. Unsworn Sword replied to Silver Moon, "Died?" Silver Moon, who had been waiting for a long time, was overjoyed, but he still pretended to be calm. "Nothing." "Oh, he died quite far away, right?" "Yes, where's the night camp?" Silver Moon said calmly, but in his heart he was screaming, "Hurry up and ask me why I'm still in the night camp after being dead for so long." In the end, Unsworn Sword's reply was even colder. "It's getting late, just in time to go to bed." Silver Moon was dumbfounded. Unfortunately, he didn't have the chance to take the initiative to attack. This was the disadvantage of advancing by retreating. What he didn't know was that after Unsworn Sword said this, he had already deleted him as a friend. When he came up with another plan, a stranger wouldn't be able to contact the leader of Cloud City? Ahem. After Unsworn Sword finished dealing with this, he realized that everyone was still looking down on Silver Moon's character. He felt that his conversation with Silver Moon was really beautiful, and he couldn't help but join in the disdain. Hey. Finally, Reflection Years couldn't help but say, "Stop talking about that trash, okay? How are we going to get out now?" Ahem. Everyone came back to their senses. "Continuing to waste our time and energy, we have to get out of the forest as soon as possible," Reflection Years said. Of course, everyone thought. Who didn't know this? So, Reflection Years was just about to reveal his plan when he suddenly heard a scream from the group of players. Who the fuck stepped into a trap this time? Unsworn Sword stood up and looked over. Rogue is next to us. There was a commotion from the group of players. Are they going to attack already? All the group leaders were excited and stood up. They weren't afraid of a head-on confrontation, they were worried that the other side would throw a trap to wear them down. Now that they were attacking, this was good, really. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.